to the program. As always, you know it's going to take a minute or two to get all the platforms up and running. So give me about a minute or so, and we'll begin discussing what Trump referred to, considering he now has completed 100 days in office. As you see on the monitor behind me, 100 days of greatness. So we're going to talk about that. Um, don't know what I'm doing here. Don't want to do that right now. Okay, so give me a moment to get my screen up. Okay, last platform here, and we should be going momentarily. 100 days already. Does it feel like it probably feels like it's been longer than that, right? 100 days of Trump, it probably feels like it's been at least a year. I mean, Bill O'Reilly stated, and I got to agree with him, Trump has done more than any other president in this short period of time than any other president in history. So I actually do agree with that. Now, that doesn't mean it's all been good, but he certainly has done quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let me just focus on this real quick here, and we'll be live momentarily here. I just want to make sure I got everything in here. So we don't want any kids coming in here. We have to, when you're logging in with YouTube, they want you to make sure you put in this for children, and we certainly want to make sure we adhere to that so that we don't have any kids coming here, because sometimes the language can get to be interesting. So I'll go ahead and start these things up. I think everything's running, and within about 10 seconds or so, we should be live. Let's real quick put the location in here. All right, that'll go. And there we go. All right. I think I hit it live. Okay, we'll go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Don't know what just happened with that. God damn it, I hate that. But welcome to the program. We're going to be talking about Trump's first 100 days. Now, we'll hopefully we can get as much, I like to hear from MAGA, so hopefully we can get as many folks on both sides of the aisle as possible. But nevertheless, Trump is president, and unfortunately, he is in the hot seat, which means that there's going to be times when Trump is getting criticized. I try to give him, I don't have any problem giving Trump credit or even praise. Like, I believe his securing the border is pretty successful. So I don't mind giving him praise where I think it's due, but he is the president. He is in the hot seat, so he's going to get more criticism than when he's sitting on the sidelines running for president, and Biden is in there. And unfortunately, in effort to try to get more MAGA on the program as well, it's kind of difficult to make that happen because a lot of Trump supporters do not like to have him criticized at all. So I'm not here to bash Trump all day, every damn day, but I'm also not here to praise any one political candidate either. And, when you start criticizing Trump, you start losing folks on the right. I can't do anything about that other than give you the solemn promise. We try to call a spade, regardless of who's dealing the cards. We call balls and strikes, no matter who's pitching. So we're not going to just come on here and hype up a candidate or trash a candidate just for clicks and views. We don't do that here. And as a result, it's going to cost you some viewers every now and then. But today we're going to be talking about his first 100 days. And Will is already out there saying Trump ain't shit. Give the man a chance, Will. Give the man a chance. He's only been in there for 3 months. But what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna analyze. He did an interview on ABC News yesterday. About a 45-minute interview or something like that. The entire interview is available online. You can easily find it. We're going to analyze some things that were said by the president, and we're going to take it from there. And I see the comments. Miss Mobetta says that was a mess. Well, you know, Trump, any interview Trump does is going to have controversial statements in it because Trump is indeed controversial. No matter how you look at him, I don't think there's any way to come up with another way of viewing Trump other than from a controversial aspect. I'm looking for one of my remotes. Okay, there we go. So Trump is controversial no matter how you look at it. But we're going to talk about some of the things that came up. So I'll start out and real quick in the comments. Evil super Majin Buu. Okay, you became evil and super now. The man doesn't deserve no chance. Did you watch ABC News? Ridiculous hogwash. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. That ABC News. We're going to be playing clips right off of that interview. In fact, I have that whole interview queued up, and certain parts of it are marked, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So I want to start right out. I guess since I'm hearing what you guys are saying, obviously some of you didn't favor the interview, but I want to ask you right off the bat, by way of giving me your opinions in the comment section. Now I want to ask you folks, how did he do? Letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F. Now I know I do have some Trump supporters in here as well, so I'm curious to know, if you've seen the video, how do you think he performed? A, B, C, D, or F? And when I say performed, I mean in terms of answering the questions that were asked, sticking to the subject, et cetera, et cetera. Things that politicians often are criticized for not doing. You bring up, you interview Biden and he's deflected to some Republican or something like that. You know what politicians do. Or give you, 2 minutes of bloviating when it was a simple yes or no answer. So A, B, C, D, or F, how do you think Trump did in the interview last night? And I can't even think of the guy's name that did the interview, because even Trump stated, I chose you because I never heard of you before. David Muir is the David Muir and George Stephanopoulos are like the two biggest names at ABC. And Trump doesn't like either one of them. So, and of course, he didn't have anything good to say about this guy in closing either. I think he referred to ABC News as "you are the worst" or something like that. So Trump, he's a challenging interview no matter how you look at it, because he is so, I hate to say it, he is so insulting. He's so insulting to the media. And that's not to say that he's not, listen, I'm not going to pretend like some media does not have it out for the president. There are media outlets that simply do not like the right, a Republican candidate, and certainly one as bombastic as Trump. But fact is, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. If you're president, there's going to be people that don't like you. And Trump is the only one that really attacks him back to the level of which you may have seen that last night. Like I said, most presidents don't do that. They just kind of let it roll off their back. People say you don't want to be a snowflake or whatever the hell they want to call it, but Trump pushes back. He attacks media personnel all the time. So that is kind of par for the course for Trump. But getting into the actual interview, I want you to hear a clip. And I see in the comments, Tammy Green says he is narcissistic, so he can't be wrong ever. That's an interesting point. Has he ever admitted being wrong? Can you think of a time when he has ever came forward and said, "Yeah, I was wrong about that"? That's an interesting point. I've been doing this since for about 4 or 5 years now. I cannot recall Trump coming forward and saying he was wrong about something or issuing an apology doing something. So yeah, you might be onto something with that one, Tammy. Maple MAGA up in Canada got punched in the jaw for their election. The conservative leader lost his own seat. Yeah, Trump played a huge role in the Canadian election. The Canadians, fact is, the Canadians were not happy with the last Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and they were going to the right. They were absolutely about to elect a conservative prime minister. When Trump started talking about taking over Canada and making it a 51st state, Denkow, shout out to you for the underwater coral. Thank you for the support, Denkow. Thank you. When Trump started talking about annexing Canada and making it a 51st state, it galvanized the country to fight for their sovereignty, obviously. They don't take what Trump is saying as a joke. They view what Trump is saying as a threat to their sovereignty. So when Trump did that, and Trudeau, who was prime minister at the time, started speaking back against Trump and talking about how Canada would remain strong, it kind of invoked a sense of patriotism among the Canadians, and it literally helped Trudeau's party, leading to the prime minister they have now, which is a liberal. But they were well on their way to electing a conservative. So Trump got in a way, Trump got involved in politics there in Canada, and he basically helped elect another liberal prime minister. He helped a liberal, he helped a liberal prime minister snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. So he got involved in their election. And he said, he actually tweeted out stuff telling them on election day how they should vote for him as opposed to those two candidates and all of that, because their taxes will be lower, they wouldn't get tariffs and all of that. So they're really galvanized against America and particularly President Trump. But I want you to hear this clip, because this is where we're going to start at. This is President Trump. Now, the biggest thing on the docket today is the tariffs. I mean, there's no denying the tariffs are the biggest concern hovering around America. Real talk. Thank you. Appreciate the galaxy. Real talk. Thank you. This is the biggest thing that's going on right now is the tariffs. So early in the interview, Trump was asked about the tariffs. Here's kind of how he stated, because he was asked, how would what would you tell small business owners in regards to this stuff going up triple-digit percentages coming from China?
It was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory?
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this.
By way of yes or no in the comments, just before we go to the box and start taking callers and all that, by way of yes or no in the comments, how many of you folks believe Trump when he says everything is going to be just fine? You hear the reporter ask him, are you saying everything's going to be honky-dory? He says everything's going to be just fine. By way of yes or no, how many of you folks think that Trump is accurate in saying that those tariffs, the outcome, everybody's going to be just fine?
Trade. It was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory?
Everything's going to be just fine.
Everything's going to be just fine. Now, keep in mind, he mentioned Apple and some of the very, very large corporations, but the question was pertaining to small business owners. Let's face it, Tesla under Elon Musk has lost billions of dollars. Nevertheless, Tesla is still an operating company. That's not going to apply to a small business. A small business cannot sustain huge losses and keep going for months. So when we think about the notion that you got to give Trump time, this doesn't happen overnight. Fact is, for some of these businesses, a huge downturn in profit overnight is enough to destroy the business. Keep in mind, I'll go straight to the comments after this. Keep in mind, when the liberals were in charge, promoting a minimum wage increase or promoting that employees should receive health care from their employers, the right was constantly saying big business did not, or better yet, small business did not have the money to give their employees a minimum wage increase. It would cause them to go belly up. But now we're talking about triple-digit tariff rates, and suddenly they can hold off? Does that make sense? This guy cannot afford to go from paying his employees $7 or $8 an hour to $10 an hour, but he has the money sitting around to deal with 145% tariff for the next several months. Does that make sense at all? Because that's what we're being told. Anyhow, I'll go straight to the comments. Evil, super, major, boo, that's a mouthful. This is a man who said people are eating dogs and cats. Oh my! And I got a story to tell about that in a minute, but this is a man who said people are eating dogs and cats. Everything is not going to be fine. I'm looking for him to say, I'm taking to grimace. He is real. Wow. You know, I got told by somebody, I made a video talking about some of the things that Trump say, why won't he just prove some of this stuff and it would help his case? And somebody in the comments hammered me stating that you won't even get over the dogs and cats thing because I brought up that he hasn't proved that yet. And so, well, why won't you just get over that? I mean, I'm thinking like, it's only been 6 months since he stated that. I mean, if people's pets, I mean, are we animal lovers or not? People's pets are being wrongfully slaughtered and consumed, and you become president, you're the one that told everybody you do nothing. The response is you need to just get over that. Kind of makes it look like it wasn't real. Real quick in the comments, Trump's 100-day grade is not even an F. Damn, it's X. 0. The same guy that thinks the Central Park 5 should have the death penalty also thinks a photoshopped MS-13 picture is real. And that's part of the, we're going to talk about that because that certainly came up in the comments. But I want to go back to straight to the box. Stick the ruler. Did you catch the ABC interview? What's your opinion? Did you catch him interviewed on ABC there, Stick?
Yeah, I caught the interview, Tim. He wanted to get up out of there.
Really?
He really. He said that he didn't think the interview was gonna make it through. They weren't gonna make it through it. He didn't like the questions he was asked.
Well, listen, anybody that's not giving Trump a snowball interview is not going to like the questions. But, I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of typical for any politician. He wants to be sitting in front of Hannity, not sitting in front of somebody that's asking challenging questions. But I don't think he was. This is one of the times where I think he was, I don't want to say taken out of context, but he wasn't actually talking about getting up and leaving. He was letting that reporter know, yeah, if you keep saying bullshit, I might not complete this interview with you.
Mile take right exit 240B toward Florida.
Well, the whole thing of it is, Tim, is this: he wasn't being badgered. He was being asked good questions that the American people have been asking these reporters to ask this man. So at the end of the day, he was fidgeting.
Right exit 240B
He was definitely ready to get up out of there. He was definitely ready to make an excuse to why he had to end the interview. And the guy told him, "No, we'll make it through it."
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did say that.
We'll
He sure did.
So, it's the thing of this. He doesn't mind having people uncomfortable, but when he's uncomfortable because he don't have the answers, he doesn't have, the moral background to give you a decent answer, that's when the regular schmegler Trump comes out and he says those things. I don't think we're going to make it through this interview. Why? Because you're being asked good questions? Yeah. Come on.
Well, I mean, I guess in agreement with you, he is used to being around folks that are very favorable to what he's doing, no matter what it is. I mean, if he does this today and changes and does the exact opposite tomorrow, the people he is around will usually tell him, you made a good decision. No matter what it is, it's a good decision.
He's around fluffers 24/7 is basically what you're saying.
There goes that word
again. They fluffing his ass up. They wiping his ass. They don't mind being R. Kelly'd. They don't care. Long as he say they're a good person, That's all that they care about.
But you know something? Mr. Realistic in the comments points to something that's a legitimate point. Trump finally got the mineral deal with the Ukraine signed today. Is that something he not deserves credit for?
Nah, he don't deserve credit. The
What?
people that have lost their lives, that have made this a serious issue, those are the people who deserve the credit. Trump don't deserve no credit on that. I mean, people had to unalive for it to happen only because he want to pull back and not give them people what they need to beat Putin. So I'm not gonna.
Well, but think of it this way: we under the Biden administration assisted the Ukraine by giving them millions of dollars worth of weapons, ordnance, and equipment. And Trump, with the mineral deal, is going to help America recoup a lot of that money back. Is that not something to give him praise for?
Well, no, because number one, Biden is the one that started that. That's number one.
Biden wasn't expecting any kind of return from the Ukraine.
Oh, you're talking about just the mineral.
I'm talking about the fact that Trump is bringing millions of dollars back home to America to recoup what we gave them in terms of weapons. He's basically making them pay for what they got from us. You got echo. You got echo.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm about to drop you. Wow. I hate to drop them, but we're hearing myself back over and over again. Mineral deal, looking in the comments. So, but I mean, and I wanted to ask my last caller that. Should he not get credit for that, though? That could be millions of dollars. Not to mention it puts us in the region again. Not necessarily boots on the ground, but it does put us very close to Russia. So if we want to do secret military surveillance and all that kind of shit, it may help us out militarily in the future. I don't know, but I think Trump should get some credit for that. We don't want to go too wild in a category where folks often refer to as Trump derangement syndrome. But I want to ask you about Trump derangement syndrome shortly here. Will G says, so we have the IRS helping to find migrants paying taxes, and now we have USPS sifting mail for migrants. Yeah, I would just say it like this. Trump is gung-ho in going after immigrants. Period. Trump is about as anti-immigrant as a human can legally be. And, you know, we covered this on the program before Trump got elected. And I used to state when folks were saying, you know, what good would Trump be to the country? And I was stating even then that Trump would be better at securing the border than any president we could ever elect. And my reason was because I believe Trump would break the law to secure the border. That's how gung-ho. And I was saying that before he got elected. He's gotten elected, and he hasn't let me down on that statement at all. In fact, I've been trying to look through some of my old lives to find it, to play it back. Because I said it several times, is that Trump would break the law to defend the border, and therefore I believed he would be better at securing the border than anybody. Because if he could take a life coming across the border, he would be okay with taking a life. Whatever, as far as the law will let him go in punishing these people, he wants to go that far, up to and including loss of life if that's allowed. So you're not going to get anyone to defend the border to the level of President Trump. So, and I see the comments, Miss Mobetta says that's not good. Well, it depends on who you ask. Remember, Trump has convinced a large portion of this country, particularly my beloved MAGA, that these individuals are coming to unalive folks, coming to kill everybody. So if you believe these folks are killers, then you're not going to have any sympathy on what happens to them. I mean, Trump has convinced folks that everybody coming are rapists and unalivers, which leads me, before I take my next caller, to this cue up, where he actually says something to that effect.
Hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country. He had 21 million people that came into our country through a...
Let me just stop real quick. There's no way in hell under the Biden administration 21 million immigrants came in this country. That's just not. I know people came in the country. I saw the migrant caravans, and I'm not denying that under Biden it was pretty damn easy to get in the country, but 21 million is an insane number. My guess is it's nowhere near even half of that. Nowhere. Now, it's still a lot of people. Not going to deny it's a lot of people, but the exaggeration here is wild. Nowhere near 21 million people came in under Biden.
But open border. And they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
you acknowledge that.
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this: if you're going to have 21 million people, and we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country.
I'm looking for a word.
We have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in.
That right there. So when folks wonder why MAGA is okay with all sorts of draconian action being taken to deport these people, separating from their children, breaking in their homes in the middle of the night and doing. If you're talking about folks who believe that thousands of murderers are among that crowd, you're not going to get any sympathy. In fact is, MAGA believes what he just stated, that thousands of these people are here to take lives of Americans, thousands of them. Oddly enough, they keep repeating Lincoln Riley over and over again. If it's thousands of these folks that are doing that, you should be able to have a whole Vietnam wall of people that have been, you ever see the Vietnam Memorial with a wall of all of them? That's what it should look like in terms of folks who have lost their lives to illegal immigrants. You're talking 21 million people, and you're indicating that most of these folks are here to murder people, and you got to keep saying Lincoln Riley damn near a year later. I just want to point out the obvious. Anyway, before we go to the next caller, Will G says, I saw that already. Evil Super Majin Boo, that name is killing me. I love that echo. That should be your new catchphrase. Please play that over me. No, I'm not gonna do that. Now that's annoying to the viewers. But you said please play that over and mediate on that. No. How do you respect a man that lies about everything? Says Joe Schmo. Well, they don't. If you support Trump, you don't believe he lies about everything. You believe that Biden is the one that's doing that. Obama, Clinton, they're the ones that lie. Trump is just being misinterpreted, taken out of context, misrepresented by the mainstream media. You got to know how it works. MAGA, who is the 70+% white, says Will G, says MAGA, who is 70+% white, just does not like the sign of brown people prospering and quickly dwindling their majority, and will do and say anything to squash momentum. So what Will G is pointing out is what many refer to as replacement theory. He's basically describing replacement theory. He's saying that MAGA, MAGA's only 70% white? Wow, really? 70%? I would have thought it would have been higher than that. He says MAGA's 70% white, or 70+% white, just does not like the sound of brown people prospering and quickly dwindle their majority and will do or say anything to squash momentum. So the other 30% that's not white, I would assume, don't agree with that, right? Let me go to the box. 70+%, huh? Continuing on, the one and only Den Cow. Good evening, Den Cow. Hopefully we don't get the echo this time. Let's see if it makes it work this time. Replacement theory happened in Chris says replacement theory happened in 1492. That's obviously Christopher Columbus coming. He says that is past tense. Well, they believe it's making a comeback. Denkel, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Did you catch the interview?
I didn't see. I've only seen clips of it because I can't watch, like, I can't sit down and watch like 10 or 15 minutes of him talking. It's too difficult, man, because everything is a lie. It's like you can't even catch your breath when you're trying to understand what he's saying, because he just goes from one lie to the next to the next. It's hard for me to listen to him talk. And plus, I know, I'll get the bullet points, through social media real quick, like we doing right now. So,
well, let me put on my MAGA hat and defend him to some degree. He is right under Biden. We did have I don't want to say porous border, but it certainly was not as secure as Trump is doing, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you want to make a broad statement and say it's more secure, then okay, I can agree with you.
Is that not a good thing?
We disagree with the way he's doing it. No, I mean that's like saying that's like saying that a guy won a race, but one of them was on steroids. Like, he won the race. Is that good?
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's good, but he cheated. He did something wrong to accomplish it. So, to say, first of all, like you've been saying many times, immigration wasn't affecting me directly. So whether the border is open or closed, or people are picking fruits and vegetables, it's not, it's actually helping me because it's keeping my costs low. But it's not as if, we got rogue gangs of MS-13 just riding around, doing stuff to people like that statement he just said.
Why do you think people,
thousands of murderers?
Why do you think people buy into that? Because I'm in the same camp as you, that the immigrants coming in this country, even the ones that are here illegally, are significantly less violent than anything he could ever portray. Yet MAGA buys into that. MAGA does believe that by getting these people out of here, he's making the country significantly safer. Why do you believe they see it so differently than, say, you or me, and in believing that these folks are mostly consisted of felons that are here to kill and rape everybody?
Because he's painted this picture of them that they can't see, but it obviously must be out there somewhere because he keeps saying it. Like, the most of the people I've talked to, they've never encountered all of these, crazy, murderous, immigrants. Most of the people I talk to, and I'm down south, and I talk to people, and all they talk about is, oh yeah, we used to have all of these people come help us on our parents' farm. And they talk so lovingly about the people, that they've been family friends forever. And so I don't know what, they tried to paint that one picture. Where was that? Indianapolis, where they said they took over a whole apartment complex.
It was in Colorado Springs, I believe it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's the picture he's created around these people, when it's just not true. Like, those people that come across, especially the ones that come across illegally, they're not trying to do nothing to get deported.
Yeah. Now in the comments, I see someone did say, though, it says that this person admits there are some good migrants, but if you're illegally here, you about to go. I mean, how about the notion that if you're in this country illegally, regardless of what Trump is saying, you need to leave. If you're not here, if you have no legal right to be here, you need to leave.
Hey, I mean, that's what he said. That's what they want to happen. So, I mean, like I said, it's not really affecting me. And, I struggle with this because before when it first started, we were having these conversations about, how us as the African American community, how we feel. And we was like, yeah, fuck it, kick them out. Yeah, we don't give a shit. It's not hurting us. But at the end of the day, as just a human being, to understand that people have been coming across that border a certain way since the beginning of this country. And it's always cool when we benefit off of their struggle, off of their backs, but when when somebody comes along and says, hey, okay, that's enough, then we want to treat all of those people like shit. when we've been enjoying the fruits of their labor for fucking ever. They built most of our houses and fucking they doing all of this handyman shit. Like you already know if you want some handyman work done, you find a Hispanic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I'm okay with making sure people come here legally, but the process to come here legally is so damn, so damn difficult. But also, if you're here illegally, what you're doing is akin to trespassing. It is a crime. It is currently a misdemeanor, and it is like trespassing. So if I'm trespassing on someone's property, okay, get me for trespassing. You don't jump up and yell that I'm raping every damn body. I mean, and I think that's where the pushback is, that Trump is not calling it as he sees it. What he is doing to make a point is he's going to greatly exaggerate, which he's really good at exaggerating, but now he's going to exaggerate the actual law that you're violating. So instead of just calling him a trespasser who's breaking in the country illegally, let's call him a murderer. Maybe we'll get a better effect off of that. And that's what it sounds like what he's doing.
Right. It sounds like he's conflated all of these different areas of immigration into one. Everybody's illegal. All of the people that come using the laws of the Constitution to claim asylum, whether you believe they're worthy or not, they do have a right. They said once they step foot in America and turn themselves in at a port of entry, they can claim asylum, and then they have to wait for their court.
Why do you think he's doing that? I get the notion of wanting to get folks out of this country that are here illegally. But now you're right. He's going after student visas. He's going after folks who are asylum seekers, folks who came here legally. In fact, he's talking about potentially going after naturalized citizens. So we're well beyond illegal immigrants or rapists and murder. Why do you think he is going so far beyond what he originally discussed?
Because he's following a age-old, I'm not sure what they would call it, but you demonize the people that you want to, you got to dehumanize them to make them seem like less than human. That way it's easier when you abuse them. So he can't section out all of these different people. You got, the visa people, and you got the asylum people, and you got the people that, that want a green card. Like, there's so many different sections of immigration.
Right.
He's not articulate enough to try to separate those out and say, I just want to go after these people. So he just puts them all in one big basket and say they're all illegal. They're all murdering people. So therefore, you won't find pity with any individual ones. He'll just keep saying, like he did in that interview, well, they're all, you're saying this about this one guy, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And the guy tells him, well, the law is that he gets a hearing. Well, you guys are trying to protect the bad guy. Like, no, I'm just saying what the Constitution says. Like, he's got people to the point where they're willing to ditch. I mean, they full blown now. They just like, they want him to do a third term. They don't want him to respect the rulings of the Supreme Court or no court for that matter.
Well, you make a good point. Now, when you start talking about him not wanting to respect the Constitution, I want you to hear this clip. This is from that interview, because this is in reference to the fact that the Supreme Court ordered him to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
I don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, great genius, right? And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned.
Now you hear him talking about that he was elected to do this. So his take is, it really doesn't matter what the Supreme Court is saying. He was elected by the people to do what he's doing. So he's going with what the people are suggesting.
Right, but But when he says the people, he's saying it as if all 77 million people who voted for him wanted him to do this, and that's not true. No. Maybe 30 of the real MAGA people, they don't care if he breaks the law. But a lot of them people just wanted the economy to get better.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they just wanted, them to have a really strong effort in getting, illegal immigrants out the country. You can ask them individually, like, you can ask them, and the vast majority of them will say, well, I don't like the way he's doing it, or he shouldn't be doing it this way or that way. That tells you that's not what they voted him in for.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. Now that we know he is willing to challenge the Supreme Court, I guess the question is, what happens if he does not follow what they ordered him to do? I mean, normally you or I, if a judge tells us to do something, we don't do it. There likely could be a bench warrant, or they may have us taken into custody right away if we're in court in front of the judge. But he's in a unique situation that is far more in favor of him. If he does not do what the Supreme Court does, what else is there?
I'm not sure. That's when we get into that constitutional crisis that everybody's been saying, but we haven't quite crossed that threshold yet because of the arguments that his lawyers are making. They're becoming less and less palatable for these judges because the judge today or yesterday was like, look, come on now, like this is stupid, and that's what the judges are getting. But he still has plausible deniability by saying they interpreted the law, the ruling incorrectly. That's why he's saying, my lawyers are telling me, he's not quite saying I'm not going to do what y'all say. He's just saying I don't understand it. And it's the Supreme Court right now. They're bordering on, they should have spoke up immediately and said, "This is what we meant. Bring his ass back."
Let me stop you on it, because I think that because you didn't see the interview, I want you to hear this, because you said we're not in a constitutional crisis. We're talking about disobeying the Supreme Court. I want you to hear this part. If I can get my damn audio working, but
protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, and just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
he
sir.
came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court...
There you go. Now, he's been told to bring him back, and he's making it clear on basically national, if not worldwide TV, I could do what the Supreme Court told me to do. I'm just choosing not to because I think this guy is a bad guy. So you talk about constitutional crisis.
Right, exactly. And in court, whenever they give their update, which will probably be tomorrow, they will say what they interpreted Trump as saying. They're not going to go in there and tell the judge, well, he's just not going to do it. That's what I'm saying. They haven't crossed the threshold.
He's on TV now admitting that
there's a big difference, but there's a big difference between him sitting on TV and him sitting, or his lawyers in the courtroom. Pay attention to what the people.
It wouldn't be. I'm gonna say it the way it wouldn't be a difference between you or I. If you or I were on TV, making it clear we could do what a judge asked us to do and we're choosing not to, they would hold us accountable to that. It doesn't matter what our lawyers said.
We already know that he's been held to a different standard, so that's not even in the lexicon. Like,
fair enough.
When his lawyers go in there, and the judge says, "Well, Well, he said he could bring them back. Why didn't he? They're gonna
spin it.
themselves into a pretzel.
Yeah, they gonna spin
to say,
it.
well, that's not what he meant. You know, you guys are taking it out of context. You know, the old stuff.
Yeah. I can't believe he would go on TV and admit some shit like that, though. I mean, he literally is admitting that he is defying the Supreme Court.
He wouldn't have, but that guy did such a good job of putting him in certain situations that he had him saying some of the craziest shit that he shouldn't have said. And another thing he said, I did see the part where the guy was asking him about some of the cuts to some of the important parts of government. He said cuts to cancer research and everything, and he says, well, you know, we've saved about 150 billion. That's a lot of money. It's like, dude, we're talking about human lives.
They're focusing on the money. I mean, that's the same thing with USAID. The only difference is now you're talking about American lives, but when they cut funding to USAID, that was the same thing. They're reporting that people are dying. You know, kids are starving to death. That money was going to help children in places like Africa and shit like that. I mean, so they're focused on saving money. I mean, think about how many Americans that are fired from some of these federal jobs, the turmoil it's causing in their lives. So they're focused on money over everything.
Didn't they say UPS is about to let it go?
20,000. 20,000. Yeah. 20,000.
But what does he say? What does he say? This is all Biden's fault. He said, I ain't have nothing to do with nothing that's going on right now.
You know, the crazy thing is he's bragging about how, you know, gas prices have come down. He's bragging about the price of eggs have come down and all that. But at the same time saying it's Biden's economy. When you talk about the bad things that's going on, it's Biden's economy. But when he wants to talk about the price of groceries coming down, then suddenly it's his economy. So he is playing both sides of the fence.
Can we normally we all agree that it takes a little while, almost 2 years before you know what you do starts affecting the economy, because we're thinking about legislation and stuff that actually, you know, affects the economy. Can we agree that this is Trump's economy? After Liberation Day, what's going on right now is his.
Yeah, the minute you decide to tariff the whole world, there's nothing Biden has done that's going to survive. I mean, yeah, you changed the game. The minute you decide to tariff the whole world like that, yeah, this economy is effectively yours. But because it's not going in the direction that he wants it to go in right off the bat, well, let's still see if we can get some blame on Biden out of it. But that makes no sense, because there's no way in hell what's happening with the economy and the shipments coming from China and all, that wasn't going to happen under Biden. I mean, that's just, I mean, that's strictly due to the tariffs. But he's going to squeeze as much because you can't put a microphone in front of this man's face without Biden's name coming up. I mean, I don't care what it is. I don't care if he's drinking a glass of milk. He'll say Biden couldn't lift his glass like that. It does not matter.
Look, I sent you another article about the ports on the East Coast now. Remember, before we were seeing it, they was talking about the West Coast, and that was mostly because of China. But now they're having the same problems on the East Coast.
Where did that stuff come from? Like, I mean, where?
Europe.
Okay, Europe. Wow.
Europe. And the craziest thing, man, did you see the interview with Peter Navarro when they was talking about what's going on with the economy?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
He said these are some of the best numbers I think I've ever seen. He said these are some of the best numbers I've ever seen.
It's a good time to be rich, because folks are suggesting that it's a great time to buy while everything is low, and then when it comes, like what you said, we'll see if that happens. But I got to move it on, then, Kyle, because you do believe the market will bounce back, right?
I mean, eventually, it's going to take a long time. I'm just saying this is not like the end of the empire type shit. So I think that's what maybe the confusion. I'm saying that, yes, eventually, when Trump is put out of office, or, if we take the House and Senate and they put a stop to a lot of this stuff, yeah, I think it'll bounce back.
So you believe America will remain we obviously remain a superpower, but you think we'll remain on top, U.S. dollar being the gold standard, all of that?
Yes, because I think when the shit really hits the fan, I think there are going to be people out there, even in his party, that are going to say enough is enough. And, I think because there's nothing structurally wrong with the economy. See, that's the thing. Like,
145% tariff on one of our biggest trading partners. You says when the shit hits the fan, it smells like farts all up in here right now.
Yeah, but no, we got to see the shelves start being empty. We got to start seeing the actual, because right now, what are Trump people saying? Oh, it's not a big deal. Nothing's really happening. I don't notice. I don't see no difference. You gotta wait till the stuff actually, and it takes a little while because the inventories were inflated. Everybody bought a whole. I did the same thing. I told you a long time ago. I went and bought me a new computer. And
I bought one yesterday. I did the same thing, and I went to Best Buy, and they actually told me that they're expecting computers to shoot up in price. So I did that. I mean, I did that for the show. I'll end up hooking it up. But yeah, I did the same thing when I bought a new computer as well because I'm expecting it. But then, I do got to move it on. I hope we wake up before people actually have to see the body on the floor. I mean, that's crazy.
We got to see. It got to really hit home where people cannot deny it. Right now, they can still deny it. They're saying, like, I don't see no big deal.
Them are Biden's empty shelves. I got to go.
All right, take care.
All right. If Biden wasn't president, there would be plenty of goods. And so, I mean, it's got to be some kind of way to tie this to Biden, right? The same CBP, one app Trump created to streamline asylum seekers, is actively being turned against them, like Order 66 in Star Wars, says Will G. I made a video about that. Kristi Noem on television stating that, I think many of you have seen the video. It's about a minute video. I won't play it right now, but she's stating that Trump is serious about getting illegals out, and if you hide, we're going to find you. And she's, they're trying to get folks that are here illegally to register with this CBP app that Will is talking about, and Customs and Border Patrol. I think that's what those acronyms CBP stand for. Wants you to sign up with this app and self-deport. And then you see Kristi Noem in the video saying that if you do that, you can come back. But if you don't self-deport, they can fine you as much as $1,000 per day and all kinds of draconian punishments and things like that. Now, in my video, I made it clear. Trump is about as anti-immigrant as they come. I don't think I've ever seen another human being in politics that is more anti-immigrant than Trump. And the reason I'm bringing that up is if you self-deport, you fill out this CBP app, you give them your information, and you self-deport after being in this country illegally, you will never be allowed to come back under the Trump administration. I get that I'm speculating. Some will say, you don't know that. There is nothing about Trump that speaks positively of immigrants, particularly those coming across the southern border. So if you self-deport, as they're trying to get people to do, you just gone. The only way you're going to be allowed to come back in this country is if Trump, once he's out of office, you get a liberal or a more friendly immigrant politician and they make the rules. But under Trump, you're never going to be allowed to come back. I don't care if you self-deport or they catch your ass running. It's almost similar, and I use this in the video. It's almost similar if you go out and commit a major felony. Let's say you go out and you rob a liquor store, a bank robbery or some shit, and there's a warrant for your arrest. Whether they catch you while you are actively on the run or you find out about the warrant and you walk in and turn yourself in, they're going to treat you the same way. There is no reward for turning yourself in if they want you for a major felony. There is no reward. You might as well stay on the run. When they catch you, it's the same. You're not going to get a lesser sentence. You're not going to get a better cell. They're not going to treat you any better than if you make them chase you and find you. As opposed to, so signing this CBP app, I don't think anyone's going to do that. Not to mention, you don't know what the hell they're going to do when you show up to the border. If you sign this CBP app and when you're coming up to self-deport, if they think you're MS-13, you have no guarantee that they're just going to let you self-deport as opposed to saying, no, you're a gang member. We're going to send you to El Salvador because we don't want to take a chance that you're going to go to your home country and try to come back in the future. So we're going to go ahead and send you to El Salvador because you are a terrorist, and we have a new law on how we can treat terrorists. So why would you even consider signing that? I just can't imagine anybody doing that. But I made the video, and people were hammering me, talking about I was lying and all that. No, Christie, Noam, and Trump are not letting you back in this country. Trump signed an EO of what you ultimately feared, Tim, strengthening the military law. Yeah, I heard about that. Strengthening military and law enforcement and giving them broad powers and immunity, essentially a step closer to martial law. That's scary. That's scary. And look, I know it's speculating, but if it looks like a politician is on a path to implementing martial law, Trump does fit that narrative. Hopefully it doesn't go in that direction, but the way he's operating, it does look like he's taking a stair step to be exactly what people are suggesting, whether it's not following the Supreme Court, whether it is no due process, whether it is talking about actually sending Americans to a foreign prison. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff that it's hard to simply toss all of this stuff out as jokes and out of context. He said a lot of shit. But continuing on, going back to the box, I see you, Will says Trump ain't shit. Will, you on fire tonight. You know what? You know Trump was flaming mad when he saw the replay of the interview when most will likely sue ABC again. I don't know nothing he can sue him for, and he really insulted the hell out of them at the end by telling the guy, your network sucks. Let me go back to the box. I don't know what I just hit there, but we'll go straight to Michael Bowie, Michael Blue Rap, Michael the Boss. I can't get it right. I'm having a Biden moment. I'm assuming you caught that.
All black folks are alike, huh? All black folks are alike. You didn't say Michael Bowie. Is that what you just did? You Miss Mo Better, you heard that. Is Takesha in here?
No, I don't think she's in here.
Said Michael Bowie.
I don't think
she's
okay.
In here. That's my girl, so it's all good. What's up, Tim? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, let's tap the screen, share the live. There's 151 people in here. Let's get Tim up to about 30,000 real quick.
I haven't asked that all night. It's probably affected the number. Tap the screen. It helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. This is how the program is ran. So I do appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, by the way, we got more people on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, feel free to smash that like button. This is how we run the program. It is uncensored. Yeah, we're criticizing Trump, but if you're favorable to what you saw last night, favorable to Trump, come on over to TikTok or Instagram, same name, Handsome Liberal. We'll bring you up. You can criticize anyone on the program, including the host, without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored. That's how free speech works. How did you view it? Did you think Trump answered the question, stayed on topic?
Man, let me tell you, there was so much in that interview that proved that he's completely unqualified to be president.
Unqualified. What did you see to suggest that?
Tim, he doesn't know the Constitution. When he asked him and he said he needs to talk to his attorneys, he doesn't know that the Constitution protects them, or he's lying. Either way, it's not good.
I don't think it's a matter of him not knowing the Constitution. No, he might not. I'm not going to say he does or doesn't. I mean, the thing about it is you're surrounded with people who will interpret the Constitution for you at a whim. So I don't think it's that he doesn't know it. I think he's like, I'm the man, and what I want to do, I have a mandate. The American people are behind me. Congress ain't going to do shit about it. I can kind of do this without really worrying about what they say.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Do you think, and I know this, I'm just asking for your thought. Do you think you would have had any other president since you've been alive in modern day history that would not have answered that question by the letter of the Constitution saying they have a right to due process?
No. He's different. He's different.
So either he's lying or he doesn't know it.
I think that, the fact that, Trump does not mind saying something that's dishonest. So I'm going to take the former. He don't take, Trump will laugh. I mean, what did he say? 21 million immigrants came in this country under Biden. He hasn't, no one has told him that number. He hasn't heard that from anyone. He just made that up.
Matter of fact, if you remember, he gradually went from 8 to 11 to 13.
I used to talk about
21.
I used to talk about the fact that he would say 8 million at one rally. In the next rally, he was talking about like 10. I mean, he was literally going up millions of immigrants in the span of like 48 hours. I mean, he just, whatever number works, he just throws numbers out there.
He just throws numbers out there. Hey, Chris, you might be right. Chris said Nixon in the comments. I can't even argue with that, but that tells you what kind of president we're dealing with.
But Nixon did resign. Trump ain't gonna do that.
Oh, hell no, he ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
Well, and think about this. He also told the guy, I didn't even know who you were, frankly. He's so arrogant and condescending. And then he tells the guy, how come you just can't say okay?
Yeah.
The guy is telling him it was Photoshop. The guy's trying to say, Photoshop, can we move on? And he wants this on this point. Now, Tim, I told you this before, and I'm going to say it again for the people that are on this call. Remember, when you take the oath to be the president of the United States and a lot of other elected positions, everything you say is on the record.
Yeah.
Everything you say is on the
so
record.
Including that he could bring Albrego Garcia back home.
Yes. And what did he say 4 weeks ago that he couldn't?
Yep.
He said he couldn't, right? Now
but we did a live on that, and even my MAGA Saturday hour, I think everybody realizes they knew then that Trump was. I mean, look, we're paying what is the name? Bukele down in El Salvador. We're literally paying him $20,000 per inmate. So we're paying him to house Albrego Garcia. We're a much bigger country. Trump uses the bully pulpit all the time. Even MAGA knew he was like. MAGA knows that if Trump wanted to get that guy back, he could get him back.
Sure, and they don't care. They don't care it's being hurt. You remember after his address to Congress that night, and they stood up the brother with the cancer, and I came on your show, and you was pushing back hard. You was in your MAGA shit that night. You was pushing back hard, Mike. I mean, they can't stand up. And I was telling you, I blame that bad boy's father, because we all know that Trump don't give a shit about children, and he damn sure don't give a shit about kids with cancer. And what has happened since?
They're now deporting kids with cancer. They're not deporting kids with cancer. But I came around to that side, and I started saying the same thing that when they were chastising the Democrats for not standing for a kid with cancer, it was all, for the most part, they were using that kid as a pawn. And now we see when they're deporting kids with same thing, stage 4 brain cancer, on the way to receive treatment, by the way. It clearly never was the Democrats don't care about kids and the Republicans do. They were using that young African-American at Trump's address as a pawn. Now when it's time for them to put up or shut up, they had no problem treating a kid with cancer like shit the same way. So no argument for that. No argument against that.
They don't care. They don't care. And now what do we have? We have Ukraine and the U.S. reached a deal. You saw that today,
yeah,
right?
the minerals deal, yeah.
Yeah, the minerals deal.
I wonder why did they do that? Because Trump didn't admit to giving to offering them anything at all, and you gotta wonder with Zelensky. Even if Trump quietly made a deal with him behind the scenes, would you trust him to honor it? I'm wondering why would Zelensky make a deal with Trump, who's blaming him for the war?
I think what I read earlier that there was continued military support.
Really?
That's what I thought I read.
Trump is going to continue to provide military support to the Ukrainians?
That's what I thought I read.
But like I said, even if that's the case, I'm still asking that same question. Would you feel confident that he's not going to break that deal?
No, not at all. But and again, if he breaks the deal, then the terms of everything are off. So you don't get any minerals anyway. I mean, at the end of the day, unless you just go over and take it. But see, he lies so much. All he's going to do is say is Zelensky broke the deal. He'll never admit that he.
Yeah, I mean, like if we supply them with weapons, Trump may pop up and say, well, you killed too many Russians at this checkpoint, or one of those missiles went too far and we didn't give you permission. I mean, like literally any reason he wants to break the deal. And obviously at least 30-40% of this country is going to agree with him because they don't really want him helping them anyway.
Yeah, because they don't listen, Tim. That's why I told you a long time ago, the people that continue to support Trump, listen, there's a time to get off at the next stop, right? Every time he does something.
This is an express train, Mike. This is an express train, Mike. It has no stops. It only goes to the destination.
Well, damn, and the destination is a brick wall, so you got a chance to jump off or do something different, right? And if you don't, I've been telling you this, Tim. If you continue to align yourself and make excuses for them, then you ultimately are those things. I'm a firm believer in that. If you keep running around with PD3Os and guys that got SA allegations, I'm talking to you or me.
I understand. I agree with you.
Yeah, ultimately that's who you are. You know, you sympathize with it, and anything that comes with it. I don't really have empathy if you're there when somebody exacts, whether it's through the courts or however, they put their foot down and they just say enough is enough. Yeah. I just feel like we're at a point right now where if you go out to, and for people listening, if you go out to vesseltracker.com, you ever been out there?
No.
Go to vesseltracker.com. It has all the ports in the world, all the ports in every country in the world, and you can see real time what's in port, what's coming.
Kind of like, is it an app or is it a website?
It's a website.
Kind of like you can see all of the planes that are flying in the air.
Yep.
I'm looking. I'm actually.
Yeah, click on ports. And then search by U.S. and you can see what's in port and what's expected, and then switch and look at China.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, it does. I see one Seattle. I got Fort Lauderdale port.
We have 461 ports in this country.
Oh really? I didn't know that. Well, it's not letting me click on it though.
What you have to do is go to click on the port where it says Long Beach or Portland or whatever.
Yeah, I'm doing it. It's just highlighting. It's not letting me bring anything up.
Yeah, it should. It should.
No, it's not.
Not the port itself. But anyway, when you look on there, you'll see, and it refreshes like every 60 seconds. So you literally see ships coming in or ships that are in port, mm-hmm. And what you'll see, like when you look at us, you don't see anything out on the water.
Wow. Now it does tell you. It does tell me even on this screen how many ships are in port and how many are expected. So, for instance, in New York, there's 463 that are in port, and only 79 are expected at a New York port.
Right, and that means that those are just sitting there. All those are just sitting there in port, and they may be tied off. They call it moored. That's
frightening because it says like San Diego, 386 ships are in port, only 16 are expected. Palm Beach, only 10 are expected. 386 are in port. So in other words, a lot of no movement, basically. Stuff just sitting around.
A lot of no movement. But if you go look at China, 493 are expected in one port, 190 in another. China has more things coming in one port. Matter of fact, Singapore.
But it's probably because China probably dealing with a lot more countries than us.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, which is why I keep pushing back, telling folks, I don't know why you think that America is going to win a trade war. I mean, us losing China, a lot of folks don't realize, but us losing China might be more. It's probably going to be more painful to us than them losing us because they can handle that shit. I don't think we can.
Like go over to where it says port and then the city name next to the country. Not the country. Click on the city name. It's like it's grayed out.
Yeah, it does let me click on it. Yeah, it does let me click on it. Okay. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to play with this. I want to play with it right now. Yeah, I'm gonna play with it. That's I never heard of that before. But
and so when you go there, you can see the ships that are coming. They'll be out.
That shit, to be honest with you, that shit's just gonna depress me. Because like what Dencal was saying, a lot of folks don't. It's like you when you stub your toe. There's a brief moment where you don't hit your toe hard, but you don't feel it yet. You don't stub your toe, and you about to feel it. That's what I think it is kind of right now. Is that like Dencal said, people need to actually see the shelves empty. And like everybody in the game is saying it's going to happen, but yet you still have a lot of MAGA on board that it's not that bad. It's going to get better. Like everybody is telling you what's coming. And I guess and real quick in the comments, somebody said, what is the name of the site again? It's called vesseltracker.com.
And there is another one that is, and somebody mentioned it in the comments too, and I forgot. Thank you, Mason, which is Marine Tracker. Now that's going to give you a global view of all the vessels and all the different colors. It's actually pretty cool because you can see all the arrows and the directions they're going all across the world, and then you can just drill down into the map. But that one's kind of you want to get depressed. Look at that one. That's a different animal.
I mean, it's just depressing, because you start thinking like, man, what are you gonna do when it everybody's gonna be, similar to the pandemic where people fighting over goods and shit, and people price gouging and shit. I remember like when it was hard to get your hands on a mask, so people were buying scarves and do-rags and shit to put over their face. And people were charging insane prices for elastic, anything, because you couldn't buy a mask, or if somebody did have N95 masks, they could sell them for $10 a piece. I mean, I remember how that was, and it's like, damn, do we want everything that comes from China to be priced like that?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, look, Tim, you said it. I don't know how many more times you can say it. People are going to listen to and do whatever, and they don't feel it yet. But what they're not understanding is you remember that old saying that the ship has left the dock or the train has left the station.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's happening. These ships have left the dock or not left the dock, and there's always lead times. I mean, people don't understand the logistics about all of this stuff. And if we don't get stuff, and we've had a 3-week. We have a 3-week inventory, and it takes 6 weeks to get here. And based on these tariffs, they haven't shipped anything in 3 weeks. How long will it be before you get that?
I think the reason why that's happening, at least particularly with the right side of the aisle, is that Trump and the right, in terms of, when I say the right, I don't mean the voters, I mean the powers that be on the right. They're not being as candid with people about how this stuff is going to play out. I mean, they're just, temporary pain for long-term, temporary suffering for long-term gain. They're just talking constantly about the light at the end of the tunnel. They're not talking about how dark and long the tunnel may be. So this is why I think folks on the right are not really feeling it, because they're constantly telling them, we're going to win this war, and things are going to get, trade war, we're going to win it, and we're going to stick it to China. They're only talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. They're not talking about how long you're going to be in the damn tunnel and how dark it's going to be.
Well, and here's the thing. You're right, because they have blinders on. They can't see the light anyway. They're just listening.
They would be able to see it if Trump and the right were actually honest about it. If Trump told you, okay, there may be a light at the end of the tunnel, kind of like what Martin Luther King said, I may not get there with you, but one day we're going to see the promise. I mean, he was letting you know, I may die. You may see some really bad shit before the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what we should be saying in regards to this. That, it might be, a lot of darkness to the point where it may happen after my term is over with. But that's not what MAGA probably sees this shit taking place within a few months.
Right. Well, and the funny part about it, and this is what I'm saying. First of all, to say Donald Trump could do anything remotely like that would be him being somebody he's not, which is honest. He's not an honest broker of anything. He never has been, Tim. He's never been honest. He's never shown integrity. He's never shown a high level of character. I mean, when? Since when?
But how do you but how do you, Keith in the comments asked a great question. How do you respond? He says, so what's your solution? Because we're 40 trillion in debt.
Okay. He's and I don't know if it's 40 at this point, but it's up there. But eight of it was under Trump's watch the first time. But I think that you have to restructure the taxes, and I think that the 1% should be paying more in taxes. Yeah. And you're not going to pay down that debt in one term or 2 terms, period, no matter who's president. But what you don't do is add to it. What you don't do is raise the debt ceiling. What you don't do is turn around in the first quarter since he's been in office, the debt is increased, not decreased. And it's increased by $220 billion.
Yeah, our GDP is what is decreased. I got to move it on, Mike, but My answer to it would be you can't be giving the wealthiest among us a tax cut if you want to solve a $40 trillion debt crisis. That's the first thing. The people with the money, you can't be making plans to let them keep it while talking about we got a $40 trillion debt deficit to solve. I mean, that's the first thing is
Right.
the people going to have to contribute, and it can't be just a lowly paid federal worker. The billionaire got to contribute too.
Absolutely, and I think it's easy enough to hold them accountable because if they don't want to contribute, it's pretty easy to find out who those are, right?
Yeah.
And then let the consumers handle it from that point. Oh, you don't want to contribute to this? We won't shop with you, right? Let it happen that way. But when you're giving the rich more money and then putting tariffs that are going to hurt us, right? Weren't all the CEOs running to the White House today? And didn't some of the CEOs of some of these companies run to the White House to talk to them?
They've been running to the White House since Trump. They've been running to the White House since Trump has been president. Same
ones they paid for. So when you see Jeff Bezos saying, he's thinking about showing the impact of the
tariff increases,
and he said he's considering it. And they call it, and then now they're attacking him. But you know what's happening? He's going, oh shit, wait a minute. I got to let people know. But the funny thing is, you're showing us what the tariffs are, but you're not going to absorb any of that money. You're just letting us know what's being passed on to you.
You wouldn't expect them to. You wouldn't expect them to. I mean, I don't expect any company to absorb those tariffs. I mean, they're doing what they're doing what you would expect them to do. So they didn't create it, so it ain't something that they did. So why should they take a loss for it?
No, hey, listen, I can't even get into that because that's the heart of capitalism. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna let you go on this. When we're looking at these deportations and these court cases about to start coming up, and these judges, because you asked DenCal this, what I think is going to have to happen is it is a constitutional crisis because the DOJ isn't going to do anything. So these judges are literally going to have to issue whether it's warrants, whatever the case may be, and someone's going to have to execute on them. If you don't execute on a federal warrant, whoever the person that's obligated to do it, they end up losing their jobs and they get charged with obstruction. So we're going to see how far down the chain this goes where people are willing to risk their careers.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. But Mike, thank you. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, bro.
All right.
Okay.
I hope he's right, but I haven't seen enough to feel that way, that somebody's going to finally step up and do what's right. I think it might be what DenCal said. People are not going to have a change of heart until they are forced to by way of poverty or whatever the hell may happen, or seeing their own portfolios take just a drastic hit that do not recover. Now, I want to, before I move on to the next caller, I do want to read a couple super chats, but I want you to hear a clip because this is what Trump is suggesting in regards to the tariffs that are being imposed. I see in the comments there, Trump was, I want to make sure I didn't miss the super chat. Tap the screen, by the way, get the lights on up to about 40,000. Let your thumbs not be lazy. I haven't been soliciting that much, but tap the screen, get us up to about 40,000. Good minute of tapping can certainly make that happen. It helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. I know for my MAGA viewers tonight, this is not the program. I get it. Listen, if I thought what Trump was doing was great, I would give it to you that way. I haven't heard any financial analysts outside of Kevin O'Leary speak favorably to this stuff. So I'm no financial guru, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm some highly educated individual on this subject. But I'm going to say, listen, if every pilot says that this aircraft won't fly, I gotta assume that this thing is not flight worthy. And that's what's happening. I mean, virtually everyone is saying that what he's doing with the tariffs are not that good of an idea. But I understand a lot of MAGA does not favor that viewpoint. If Trump is saying it's going to work, you should take his word. No one else. I thought you said Trump was what does that say? Sucking up to the billionaires, though. Well, I think he is. Well, first of all, I haven't heard anything that Trump has done that's been negative to billionaires. I mean, we see what happened with Elon Musk, where he got a whole department created just for his own pleasure. Doge was created for him to have a playground. Clearly, there's no way in hell Elon Musk just decided to donate $350 million of his own cash to make America great, country he wasn't even born in. So Elon obviously had an ulterior motive. You ever heard of the phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is? Nobody's going to just give 350 million bucks so they want to make the country better. So Elon obviously wanted access to Doge, access to public information and things like that for his own companies, maybe to get contracts with Starlink or whatever the case may be. And that applies, in my opinion, to all of those billionaires that sat in the front row at his inauguration. So I do believe he is sucking up, if not cozying to billionaires. I do believe that. I mean, you see what happened with the tariffs. He imposed huge tariffs. All of a sudden, some of the billionaires come forward and say, your tariffs are going to hurt my companies. My industry is going to suffer and you're going to hurt my bottom line. And the next day, he's like, well, we're not going to impose tariffs on electronics. We're not going to impose tariffs on, I mean, he's picking, you can trace it right back to the people who donated money to him. All of a sudden, their businesses are receiving some kind of tariff break. So yeah, I do believe he cozies up and sucks up to billionaires. They're throwing all kinds of parties and shit where you can buy access to the president, buy his cryptocurrency. You can come to Mar-a-Lago or the White House and have dinner with him. Now, apparently, his son, Don Jr., created some kind of club where you can buy your way into the club for a certain amount of money. So some kind of country club or something that Don Jr. has going on. And there's a huge cost for membership. They're selling assets to the White House. That's what's happening. You don't pay all of this money to have dinner with the president just because they're serving good steak. No, you're sitting there talking to him, and then you're asking him, well, what are you going to do in regards to Greenland? Or what are you going to do in regards to drilling? When is it going to happen? You're getting tips. It's essentially you're buying insider information. That's what you're doing. You're sitting around with him having dinner, and you're asking questions that are going to guarantee you get all of the money back that you donated him to pay for dinner. And he, in turn, makes a killing because he is the primary owner of his own cryptocurrency. So if you buy a bunch of it, I think, what was it, 500, whatever it was, if you buy a bunch of that shit to get access to him, then the value of his coin goes up. He's selling assets. Papo Naya Shelley says, aren't you happy that it's all transparent? No, it's not transparent because you don't know what the fuck they're discussing in those meetings. No, it's not transparent. You know they're buying assets to him, but you don't know what the hell they're talking about. All you know is the next day Charles Schwab is bragging about how he made $2 billion in a single day. That ain't transparency. No, that's not transparency. Trump is anti-brown immigrant. We are still waiting for the South Africans. We are still waiting for the white South Africans to get the red carpet treatment. Elon is taking a back seat. That was an Elon Musk thing. I don't know if that's going to still happen. We'll see, but I get where you're going with that, Will. You were shooting yourself in the foot when you get on the CBT app. That's that Customs and Border Patrol, CBP rather. You're shooting yourself in the foot when you get on the CBP app. It is pointless. I might be saying it wrong, but why set yourself up for failure? And I agree with that 100%. You, as an immigrant, you're here illegally, you sign in on that app to self-deport, you pretty much are guaranteeing that you'll never be allowed back in the United States again. That's it. You came here illegally, they're going to put that down on your record, and that's going to prevent you from coming back for the rest of, probably for the rest of Trump's life, but definitely for the rest of his presidency. You're not coming back. Basketball Jones, deport my name from your mouth. Damn. I would be more graphic, but Super Chat won't let me. Okay, that's a little internal thing going on. Trump is acting like Sylvester Stallone. I am the law, and can't nobody stop him or do anything about it. Maybe Mike Pence, LOL 7, or maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, right now he is the law. And I won't say that nobody can do anything about it. Nobody seems to want to do anything about it. Because remember, Trump's tariffs, Congress could stop those tariffs at any time. At any time, Congress could vote to stop those tariffs. And you don't need many of them on the Republican side because all the Democrats are joining in. If you got 10 or 15, probably 10, what is the congressional lead for Republicans. It's well under, it's about 5 of them, right? They don't have a big lead. If you had just a handful of Republican congressional members, obviously the Senate may be more challenging, but if you had a handful of congressional members step up and say we need to stop this, they're going to get support from every Democrat. So Congress could stop it. They're just standing by and letting it happen, though. Majin, Evil, Super, Majin, Boo, appreciate the support. Thank you. Pandemic 2.0. Just like Megan 2.0 coming out soon. Megan 2.0, really? Wow. I think it's going to come down to the point where I think our dogs and cats should be running the country. I think animals can do a better job. Damn. Well, let me just say this in regards to what you're saying. I read, and I'll get back to taking the caller soon, but I was reading a study, a poll recently, I think it was earlier today, and they are suggesting that because, the poll numbers for Trump are obviously going down, but fact is his poll numbers are still higher than the Democrats. The Democrat poll numbers are really in the tank. So what the study suggested is the poll numbers for folks who are suggesting we need a third party are starting to shoot up. Because right now, America is not happy with either party. The Republican Party is not looking favorable because of Trump. The Democrat Party is not looking favorable because of everything from what people perceive as woke policies, the transgender community. And the fact is, the Democrats do not have a face right now. They don't have a face of the party. So the Democrat Party is not attractive. Trump is slowly but surely making the Republican Party not attractive. So folks are starting to suggest we need another choice. You can't run on, well, I'm not Trump. And that's what the Democrats are offering right now is vote for us. We're not Trump. That did not work in November. We'll see. We don't produce jack shit, but soy, what is this? You said, but oil and soy. And weapons, Tim. Yeah, we do produce a hell of a lot of weapons we export. Other countries are more diverse than that unless we stage a coup or bomb them for no reason, which would be typical. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could really see that happening. If things don't go our way in the tariff war, we're going to create a reason to have a military war. I could definitely see that happening. Isn't that why Japan bombed Pearl Harbor? Because we didn't like what the Japanese were doing leading up to World War II. And we started imposing sanctions on them so that they could not get war materials that we were exporting to them, like oil and steel. We stopped giving it to them because they were starting to look like a war-mongering nation. And because they could no longer get it from us, they decided to create a reason to attack us, to maybe just steal it from us. I could see that happening with America. If the tariff war does not work out the way we want, I could see us creating reasons to invade countries. I could absolutely see that. Trump is basically making a whole country a country club. Yeah, but we're not invited to it. It's way too fucking expensive. Sid, appreciate the membership. Thank you, Sid. MAGA, the orange man, is a felon. Well, officially, Trump is a felon. I don't think there's any denial of that. All right, but moving on to the I wanted to play this because we're talking about how Trump feels, how the tariffs will end. Yeah, there are triple-digit tariffs, 45% tariffs or whatever. But Trump sees light at the end of the tunnel. I want you to see how he responded to that. And you says, Pablo Nightshot, Tim, Senate struck down attempts to stop the tariffs. Then there goes. So you're telling me the Congress with Republican support? There you go. So as I stated, there are people that can stop Trump's tariffs. They just won't do it. I want you guys to hear this.
Concerning the tariffs, which economists say are going to raise prices, you said, quote, hang tough. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. We had a tremendous campaign. I said all these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down. Just about.
Real quick, now he's talking about how everything that's went down in price. And I believe there's a video out there where he says even the price of gas in some areas in the country is now like $1.85 a gallon. So the question is, by way of yes or no in the comments, are you doing better financially than you were 4 months ago? Because according to him, everything is down in price. So you should be seeing this already. You know, you normally say it takes time for things to culminate, but he's making it sound like everything has come down in price already. So you should be doing better now. You shouldn't have to wait.
Many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes, so 145% tariffs on China, and that's good. Basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but
that's why I wanted to start. Now you hear them saying that China may eat those tariffs, 145% tariff, and China's going to eat that. I mean, now originally, just to give Trump a bit of credit, and I'm going to slice it real thin just to make this work, but when Trump originally, I don't have the video, I don't have the clip here, but when Trump originally held up that tariff poster, I think at the time the tariff on China was about 67%. So if China was to lose the war, the tariff war, and say, well, we'll just accept the original tariff, I guess. So he's expecting China to possibly eat now 145% tariffs. I can't imagine he would even begin to think that they would eat that. Even 67%. Why would he think that they're going to eat that? But you hear him state that. I mean, I just wanted to play that because I thought that was, when I first heard that earlier today, I thought that was laughable that he was indicating that any country would eat tariffs that are that fucking big. 5%, 10%, maybe 145%, and you think they're going to eat that?
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with you.
Insane. All right, let me go back to the box. Insane. Now that, listen, regardless of how you feel about Trump, you favor him, you disagree with him, who would believe a country's going to eat 145%? Wow, I can't believe he even said that. Let me go back to the box. Tariffs were supposed to substitute income tax. Well, we're way beyond that, Joe D. Way beyond it. Miss Mo Betta, good evening.
Good evening, Tim. Good evening, everybody.
Just sitting around eating tariffs. How's it going?
The president of China said, we was here long before the United States. We survived then, we will survive now.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because they're so advanced when it comes to education and different things like that. They are a lot more advanced than the United States. So they will survive. And not only that, they still have other countries that will purchase from them and that are purchasing from them. We're foolish to believe that China will go under because we won't do business with them. We'd be very foolish to believe that.
Well, the thing about it is we Americans have been not always taught the truth, but we've been educated as opposed to being educated based on facts. We've been educated based on American exceptionalism. So Americans believe that we're at the top of the pyramid and everybody has to, basically bow to our might. We've always been taught that way, which is why it's so easy for Trump to convince people that we're invincible.
Yeah, okay. You can believe that. And I got a bird over here that I like to say it too.
But let me ask you to you this way. Do you, in regards to folks having, let's say, Trump derangement syndrome, do you believe that there are folks who are rooting for China to win this tariff war? Americans that are actually rooting for the enemy to win the tariff war.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because of the way he treats Americans. When you're going at your own people, how do you expect for us to support you?
That's a great point. That is a real, and that's probably the way I would answer it as well.
And the world is seeing this is just not for us to see. The world is seeing it. That you look how many people they'd even call your show from other countries like the way that you guys are being treated is disrespectful.
Yeah.
So you got to give respect in order to get it. Respect is earned. And like I said, he's going to be held to a higher standard because you are the face of the United States right now. You can't go. I don't want nobody out here acting like no imbecile representing me. I don't know about you, but I don't.
But what about the notion that you should understand that if Trump fails, we all fail, and no true patriotic American should ever be rooting for another country to defeat us?
Well, listen, again, if it wasn't such a mess at home, because charity does start at home and then it spreads abroad. Now, like I tell you before, your body is only as good as your head. If your head ain't no good, your body ain't going to be no good either. They're just going to start donating the organs.
I mean, listen, I could not agree more with your first comment that there are people rooting against Trump in this country because you're right. I mean, when you think about how many, I think they said, 120,000 federal employees have been fired. My guess is none of them are rooting for Trump to succeed after losing their jobs. And
now Congress is ready to pass a bill where you could deport American citizens. Like, come on, what are we really doing? Yes, they were just voting on that today. So what are we really doing here? You don't want people to give us any kind of education for free. A lot of those almost all those other countries got free education, free health care. And I'm not even going to say that it's free. They might pay a little more in taxes, but it's more important to them to have their medical coverage and free education. And that's just why they're so much more advanced in a lot of areas than we are. We don't take care of our people.
I will respond because Bake Boss in the comments rightfully points out what you said, that nothing is free. But I'll tell you this. When it comes to student loans and when it comes to, universal education, there are many Americans that you could literally give them 100% of their income and tax them at 0%. And they still would not be able to afford those things. They would rather you take out 50% of their income because it would with 50% tax, they could get stuff that they could not afford at 0% tax. I mean,
it's a travesty. I mean, it really is a travesty because what people are not asking Trump, what does he really see for Americans? Because you only hear him talk about, we're going to deport this one, deport that one. And then the ones that are here, then he's demonizing them. Like the LGBTQ IA community and different things like that. You're cutting Social Security. You're going after Medicaid. You're cutting SNAP programs. You don't want to feed children in schools. So what exactly are you doing that's going to benefit Americans? Even if you say y'all saved $160 billion, where is it? What is it doing?
That's a great question. I've been asking that ever since the whole argument of we need to stop sending money to the Ukraine because we need to start taking care of our vets and Americans. This is something that started under the Biden administration. Instead of saying, because they thought we were sending barrels of cash, but whatever the case may be, instead of helping out people overseas, we need to bring that money home and take care of Americans. And I've been constantly saying that listen, the Ukraine war broke out in February of 2021. And you notice you don't hear any politician stating that before the Ukraine war broke out, we were able to do so much for Americans, and now all of a sudden the money's been diverted to the Ukraine, so we can't do it. You don't hear anybody talking about how much they were doing for Americans before it happened.
Exactly, that we lost anything because we're paying. So now, all right, you stop supporting Ukraine. So why can't we get that money in the education department? Why can't those things happen? But that's not happening. Yeah. Now there's going to be cap on the FAFSA and all kind of stuff, all the Pell Grants and all of that stuff. Go read it. All of that stuff just came out.
I haven't heard, oddly enough, because fact is most of Trump's supporters are hardworking Americans just like you, me, and everybody watching. I haven't heard Trump really talk about doing anything for working Americans other than they like the fact that he's protected, women in sports and he's gotten rid of DEI and affirmative action. But in terms of doing things, remember, instead of sending money overseas, we're going to help out Americans. I have not heard him even talk about doing anything that's going to, other than tax cuts. That comes up all the time. But, no tax on.
We know where the tax cuts are going, Tim. We already know. If you don't have a big corporation and stuff like that, you won't see any of those tax cuts.
Yeah. Well,
and anybody that has a light bill, all of that stuff has went up. And we're just in the first quarter. We haven't even entered into the second quarter and second and third quarters and stuff. This is where people are really going to start seeing. Yeah, gas is good now, but guess what? We're entering into a whole different season where the gas prices change because a lot more people travel. So now you'll see this stuff take a shift.
What about the no tax on tips and overtime? Now that one would benefit a hell of a lot of Americans, but they don't seem that eager to do that.
Well, see, this is the thing. A lot of places that people receive tips, unless they're pool tips, you don't know how many tips they're receiving.
Yeah.
Because tips are paid in cash 9 out of 10 times. So unless they're adding it into their credit cards, playing with credit cards, you don't know how many tips people are receiving. So that's a little asinine.
Well, I got a slight pushback because I went to dinner tonight at a restaurant. I tipped $15 or whatever the hell it was, and it's on a credit card. I used to be a rideshare driver with Uber and Lyft. All of that's trackable. It's all on credit cards when people get in your car. I think a lot of tips you can track them now. People don't carry cash as much as they used to.
That's what I'm saying. But there's a lot of places that don't. People won't put the tips on the credit cards because a lot of times they are adding an extra 3%. Certain places where you use your credit card, they adding an extra 3%. So people's like, no, I'm not going to put my tip on there. I'll pay it in cash. You can't calculate that. How can you calculate that? And the overtime, I want mine in cash.
It's certain industries. It's certain industries that if you're in an industry where tipping is at, like if you're a valet driver, chances are most of your tips are going to be in cash. If you're a stripper, people ain't using credit. There are certain industries, but like I said, if you're a rideshare driver, most of your tips are going to be on the card. So it depends on what industry you're in. But in the comments, Kimmy says they will never pass this. They told another lie. Do you see the no tax on tips as something that was a talking point to get elected that's simply never going to happen?
It's not going to happen because the owners themselves are not going to see that. So
what do you mean?
The business owners are not out for you to make money. They're out for themselves to make money. Yeah, you might make a couple of dollars working for them, but they're the ones who to come out on top. And if you think that's they're going to give overtime and that's going to be like free money, they're not going to do that. You think those corporations are going to fall for that?
Yeah, what I think could possibly happen is exactly the reason why America has a tipping culture to begin with, is that they, as you mentioned, the corporations or the business owners use the fact that the consumer was tipping the employee to pay them less. They use that, if you're getting tips, then I should be able to give you a lower hourly salary. I think waitresses
go from $4 to $2 an hour.
Yeah, the waitresses. The hourly.
40 hours, you're going to go from 40 hours a week down to 25 hours a week.
Yeah.
Come on, there's too many ways around that for them to say that. It all sounds good, but that's the smoke and screens. You know what I'm saying? So they continue constantly blowing smoke up our ass. You heard that interview, how he just inflates everything. Everything is just, I'm the best. I did it the best. And then he has to fit Joe Biden in somewhere. We talk about Trump derangement syndrome. That man has Joe Biden syndrome.
I did a video on that, and I asked that question, which is, people talk about Trump derangement syndrome. Even if he cured cancer, people wouldn't give him credit. And I asked folks, no matter what Trump does, you're not going to give him credit. You got Trump derangement syndrome. And I asked folks, is there an adverse to that? Whereas you love Trump so much that anything he does, even if it's bad, you're going to show love for him no matter what. In other words, the Democrats would not give him credit even if he was able to cure a deadly disease. But I asked the question, let's say, for instance, Trump deliberately or intentionally created a deadly disease that infected millions of people. What do you call people who would still be on his side and still show him love? Because there are people like that.
It's a lot of them. That's how he got elected again, because you have people that buy into that stuff. They anything that comes out of his mouth, they believe is gospel. It is gospel. Y'all want to call yourselves Christians and different things like that, and everything he do is against the Christian values.
How do you get that much power? How does a human being, if what you're saying is correct, and I'm hoping not, but I went to a Trump rally and I did have somebody tell me that Trump was sent by God. I had a Trump supporter tell me that to my face. And I was friendly with him, so we weren't in a debate or any kind of argument. He was just volunteering that information that Trump was sent by God to make this country great. But I'm asking the question, how does an actual flesh and blood human being get that kind of adoration and love from other flesh and blood human beings to believe he is actually a deity?
First of all, to get himself in that power, he had the money. He had the money. He was in the correct circle.
That's all it takes is money?
Huh?
That's all it takes is money?
Money talks here. Money talks. They sell their mamas for some money.
Damn.
And that's how he got. So he got into the position where I'm gonna talk my shit, and they're gonna believe me. Well, and so once he started seeing people talk about, Trump this, Trump that, so he took his playbook from his reality show and brought it over into the government. And for the life of me, it worked for him. But we know it was a fix in for a lot. He had a lot of influence.
Well,
it wasn't just him that did it.
I'm starting to think Trump may be the best talker politically wise.
He has the gift of gab.
Yeah, he's probably the best. He's probably the best political presenter in our lifetime.
It's not that he's the best talker. It's just that the people around him are weak. They kept calling the Democrats weak. Them Republicans, Republican congressmen and women are weak. They are afraid of him. And what happens is they have so much shit that be happening behind the scenes and stuff like that, that he's like, I'm going to dangle it over your head. You do this to me and I'm going to say X, Y, Z.
You sure? You say
that's the vibe. That's the vibe that I get from him.
You saying is that they're weak. You sure it's not that the Democrats suck so bad, or that the Democrats are trying to destroy this country, so it provoked them to?
They're not weak. They're soft. There's a difference. There's a difference. The Democrats, for the most, the ones that are in one of those positions, always try to play by the rules. A lot of times, when you running against somebody like Trump or talking against somebody like him, it ain't no playing fair. I'm sorry, you got to give it to him just how you got to, like Michelle Obama and stuff when she said when they go low we go high. I'm gonna step down here with you and let you know. You know what I'm saying? That you're not.
Will that make us a better people by having this?
It might not make us better, but it might make us even. Can we survive? You gotta play hard. You gotta play hardball when it comes to certain things. And Trump is one of them. Because he has no regards.
But Mr. Mobetta, can you imagine a presidential debate where you got Trump on one side with his type of language, and let's say the likes of Jasmine Crockett or Maxine Waters on the other? Can we survive that as a nation with our two candidates of choice going back and forth like that?
Well, we're struggling as a nation now, and they didn't. So what do you have to lose at this point if we did? What would you actually really have? Because our democracy is already in jeopardy. So what would you have to lose to put that up there like that? I
think you would turn the entire nation to a battle between Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf at that point.
It's already happening though, Tim. Look, there is never. I've never in my life seen in my 51 years of living seen so much division. You understand? So I wasn't around when they had the Jim Crows and all of that segregation and all of that stuff. I wasn't around in that time. So, but now it's more divided than ever.
We are very much divided, but I mean, the right is saying this because of Trump derangement syndrome. I got to move it on, Miss Mabetta. I give you the last word.
It ain't because of Trump derangement syndrome. It's because of Trump. Trump became a battery for a lot of these bigots and these racist people. Like you said, not everybody, not all the racists support him. Not everybody that support him is racist, but all that do support him. And that's not to say there's not any racists on the Democrat side. I'd be a fool to say that. However, he brought the best of them out to where they're showing up in U-Haul trucks and everything, thinking they could post up in people's towns with firearms and all of that stuff, and ain't nobody supposed to do nothing. And they do it all in the name of the American flag. That's not patriotic. I'm sorry.
I can't argue with you. Racism is certainly not patriotism. Miss Mabetta, thank you for coming through.
Yes, have a good night.
Absolutely. Moving on with the program. Thank you. I didn't mean to clip her at the end, but thank you. Saving my black job by mandating English for CDL, says Papa Night Shelley. I saw that. You know, I heard that Trump is mandating all truck drivers speak English. I don't think that's totally a bad idea. I mean, in fact, I think it's a decent idea. But with Trump, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, because I don't believe that Trump is doing it to make sure that we can communicate while on the road. Trump is doing it because he has no love for immigrants. So I'm with doing something like that. If Biden or Bush or somebody else had did that, I don't think it would have been that big of an issue. But in Trump's case, it's not really about making the highways and the transportation industry safer. It's about putting up another hurdle to make life harder for immigrants. So for Trump, even though he's doing something that, you know, I don't think is a bad thing, the intentions of it is where I have somewhat of an issue. Trump is just simply trying to make life as hard as possible for immigrants, legal or illegal, just period. I want to make life really hard for immigrants. That way, hopefully, we can get as many of them to leave as possible. And the ones who won't leave, then we'll try to create laws that mandate them leaving, such as getting rid of naturalized citizens, birthright citizenship, student visa. None of them people are rapists, murderers, or here illegally. And all of them are on the chopping block as well. So his goal is to put up as many as many hurdles for immigrants as possible. Looking in the comments, and real quick, I missed Will G says, Trump and MAGA ain't shit. Says, thought the stock market was doing good under Biden because I wanted Trump to return. Trump returns, then the stock market falls flat, and then he blames Biden. Trump blames Biden for everything. Like I was asking my last caller, is there an opposite? Is there an opposing element to Trump derangement syndrome? What's the opposite of Trump derangement syndrome? Because you can't put a camera and a microphone in front of Trump without him bringing up Biden. I mean, like literally, every time he's on TV, even when it comes to talking about stuff that is not political, he's trashing Biden. I brought up the notion that when he was trying to sell Teslas on the White House lawn, he got inside of a Tesla and was telling the public this, I think he had a red one or whatever he bought from Elon or whatever the case may be. But when he got in the Tesla, first thing he said is, I bet Biden couldn't get in here. I mean, he's attacking Biden at every realm. He literally has what the right refers to as derangement syndrome. He has the definition of derangement syndrome. You can get that you can have that without just having it for Trump. You can have it for other people. They're not going to call him, someone with Biden derangement syndrome, but he fits the definition. You cannot put a microphone in front of Trump without him bringing up Biden. If Trump fails, you voted for that failure. And it applies if he succeeds too. If he succeeds, you voted for success. But I do agree with that. If you vote for Trump, what he's doing, you kind of voted for it. And by the way, during his interview, I don't have it. I don't have the time period queued up, so I don't know where the interview to play it. But he was asked, "How do you respond to Trump's people who supported you, who say we didn't vote for what you're doing, like the tariffs and stuff?" And he stated, "Yeah, you did vote for me. You did vote for this stuff." And he goes over how he's been talking about doing all this shit when he was campaigning. And I think now that I've seen more clips, it's hard to not deny that Trump is telling the truth. Most of the stuff that he is doing, he campaigned on it. Even reciprocal tariffs on China. He talked about imposing tariffs on China, and he even campaigned on if they try to push back, we're going to go up to 100% or something like that. There's footage of him out there saying that. So I will say probably about 80% of the things Trump is doing, he campaigned on doing them. Some of the things he could not campaign on doing because, for instance, he won the Hispanic male vote. So some of the level of deportations, if you go to the wrong protest, if you got the wrong tattoo, he couldn't campaign on that because he would not have won the Hispanic vote. Someone is pointing out the DEI and the civil rights stuff. He didn't campaign on that, but I think the black community clearly felt threatened at another Trump presidency because he didn't move the dial a lot with the black community. He won a little bit more black males than normal, but I think he got like 7% of the black women vote. He moved the dial significantly with Hispanics. He didn't do much with blacks. The black vote was already, I think the black vote is already kind of secure in their belief that he is not a good politician for the black community. We'll see what happens. He has 3.5 years to maybe prove otherwise. He just had an interview tonight on News Nation where Bill O'Reilly, Chris Cuomo, formerly of CNN, and Stephen A. Smith of ESPN were able to ask him questions. And I believe Stephen A. Smith asked him some questions about money going to HBCUs, and he gave him a positive answer. So we'll see. But the black community is not big fans of Trump. So unless something significant happens, I don't think that's going to change. Bro, they will follow Trump into a lizard hole. Sid, you think they're that devoted? Sid says they will follow Trump into a lizard hole. No tax on tips is a catch-22. It's for executives for more tax cuts. I'll go to the box, but I heard the same thing that if you create a law for no tax on tips, it can actually turn out to be a windfall for the upper class because you can play games on what a tip is. In other words, a tip is extra money for good service. You park somebody's car as a valet, you came out real quick, you brought me my car back, maybe you even washed it, here's an extra $10. Well, what if you earn $1 million a year and over the last quarter, you've made the company an additional $250,000? Maybe they give you a tip for good service as well in the form of a bonus of maybe $100,000 or something like that. And now, because we've had a law of no tax on tips, that means that CEO that's getting bonuses for good service, just like a waitress or a valet does for good service, doesn't have to pay taxes on it. So it could turn into a windfall for those at the top if you restructure what it means to get a tip. So many folks believe that. I think I'm kind of in that camp, considering how friendly Trump is to the wealthy class. I could see that happening. I could really see that happening. If you get to keep your bonus for good service without paying taxes on it, why shouldn't a millionaire? I mean, he worked hard to be. This is how the language goes. What did Mitt Romney used to say? Corporations are people too. Hey, he worked hard for his extra bonus just like you did parking cars. Why should he have to pay any more in taxes than you? I could see folks suggesting that. So it could happen. It very well could happen. MAGA, Texas judge denied Biden overtime expansion for 40 million Americans last year. And Biden did not attack the judge, but Trump definitely will. You can't rule against Trump without getting attacked by Trump. All of a sudden, you become a radicalized judge or something like that. The Department of Labor had proposed a rule to increase the salary threshold for overtime eligibility, starting at $43,000 on July 1st, 2024, and further increasing it to $58,000 on January. You know, that started with Obama. Obama gave a speech. I'll explain that. Obama gave a speech during his term that he wanted it to go from, I think, 26,000 to 43,000 or something like that per year before you could put an employee on salary. Because Obama made the statement that you could be a team leader or an assistant manager at Taco Bell making 23,000 a year. And because you are on salary as a team leader or assistant manager, they can make you work 60 hours a week because you don't get paid for overtime when you're on salary. And he stated that at that low wage, if you're doing 60 hours a week, when you break it down, it actually makes it come to less than minimum wage. So what Obama was trying to do is raise up the amount a person had to be paid before you could put them on salary. Because he stated that salary was originally meant for middle management employees, not some team leader at Taco Bell, you know, maybe a director or something like that. Somebody making a decent salary. So what he wanted to make it is it had to be up to 45 or something like that, 45,000 before they could put you on salary. Anything less than 45K, you had to remain on hourly, because on hourly, you're guaranteed time and a half for overtime. On salary, you get no overtime. And of course, in typical political fashion, it did not pass because the Republicans shot it down. But he was trying to do that. And now what Will is pointing out is Biden trying to do something somewhat similar. Struck down by a federal judge. The rule would have increased the salary threshold for overtime eligibility. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it works. I always say that if you got money and you don't want to share, you don't want to be forced to give to the poor, you probably should vote Republican. For the wealthy, if you're wealthy and your bottom line is your primary concern, your personal economics is your primary concern, you have no business voting Democrat. You should always vote Republican, period. Because they're going to make sure, if you're wealthy, the Republican Party is going to make sure you get to keep more of your money, and the laws tend to be tailored so you make more money. Speaking, this is evil, her name, Evil Supermation Boo says, speaking, Kamala Harris is giving a speech tonight. It's going to be live on NBC News. Really? Just a heads up, Tim. And by the way, Miss Mo Better is on point every level. Damn, why can't I get her in Congress? Wow, Miss Mo Better, if you're listening. Kamala Harris, do you think she has any political future ahead? Kamala Harris, at the national level, you know, she could obviously be mayor. She could obviously be, and I see Miss Mo Better says thank you. She could obviously be, she could potentially be governor. At the national level, though, you think she could be president? You think there's any avenue that would see Kamala Harris becoming president of the United States? Going back to the bots, and I see a hell of a lot of people saying, hell no. I don't know. D Blue, you've been holding on. I do appreciate that. D Blue, a good evening. A welcome to the program. Kamala Harris, president. I don't know. I'll tell you this. And I guess the box is not bringing. We'll give the box a chance to reset. But I think I'll say this: anything's possible. Right now, I don't think she is. I don't think she has the feel of authenticity, so to speak. I don't. She. By the way, for somebody in the comments, let me know, where is Kamala Harris speaking? Is it on MSNBC or where? What network it's on? Because I got a big screen behind me. I was trying to see if I could put it on closed caption. Let me know if somebody says she's speaking right now. But fact is, I think the problem with Kamala Harris is she just didn't come across as authentic. She just didn't have that authentic feel. Now, obviously, her gender and race hurt her, but I'm going to tell you, to some degree, race hurt her on both sides of the aisle. Obviously, being a woman, there's a hell of a lot of folks that don't believe a woman should run this country. Started with Hillary Clinton, probably even goes all the way back to Geraldine Ferraro. But a lot of people don't believe a woman should run this country. And I had somebody tell me, I was in a MAGA chat room, and somebody told me, because I stated that I would, I was going to vote for Kamala Harris. Had somebody tell me that only a pussy for a man would vote for a woman to be president of the country. Didn't matter what woman. You're pussy to simply want a woman to be over a country as opposed to a man. And that was a woman that told me that. It will be interesting if and when Harris runs and wins California governor. Trump will have to see her again. Well, Trump don't supposed to be seeing anybody else again. He's supposed to do 2 terms and run and ride off into the sunset. But he's making it clear he doesn't want to do that. But yeah, I had a woman tell me that. So I think Kamala Harris, like I said, race, her gender certainly mattered, but her race mattered as well. Right and left. I'm going to tell you on the right and left. I'm going to tell you obviously from the right, we know why her race mattered. But on the left, particularly with the black community, I'm going to look. I know some of the African Americans may not like to hear me say this, but I think the fact that she has a white husband was not viewed that positively either. I mean, if she had been married to, Idris Elba or somebody like that, I think with the black community, it would have benefited her more. I mean, there's a lot of folks that don't like that either. So I'm just going to tell you that. I think that race mattered on both sides of the aisle with Kamala Harris. Being a black woman, and the right don't even consider her to be a black woman, but being a black woman married to a white guy hurts her authenticity in the black community. Just like if you are a Tim Scott type guy and you're married to a white woman, that's going to hurt your authenticity in the black community. But yeah, Kamala Harris, I just think her authenticity just was not there. And she didn't have a lot of love even from the black community. I just don't. I wish I was wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but losing every damn swing state makes it look like I probably was not. Here's what I'll respond to this comment. In the comments, only the wise says she's from India. Was Kamala Harris born in India? I don't believe so. She wasn't born in India. She wasn't born in Jamaica. She was born in America on American soil. But yet, folks are suggesting that because her heritage is Indian, her heritage is Jamaican, then she's not American. No, she's American. If you go by that standpoint, that her parents were born outside of the country, therefore she's not American, then that means what is the guy's name? The 19-year-old, however his age is, but Trump's youngest son, the one he had with Melania. That means he's not an American because his mom was born in Slovenia. That means part of him is not American, right? So that doesn't make sense. You can't pick and choose when you want somebody to be American just to otherize their ass. And that's what's happening there. Kamala Harris is an American. And if she went out and robbed a liquor store and they put a wanted poster up for her, it would say a black woman, period. It wouldn't have Jamaican and Indian. Nobody calls you what your ancestry is. Shit, what am I, from Ghana or Nigeria somewhere? What the hell is that? She's American. The odd thing is, anytime the African American community starts talking about race, they're playing the victim. Why the hell did everything got to be black and white? You are an American. Quit playing the race card. But then when Kamala Harris runs for president, you have no problem doing the exact same thing. What happened to her being an American? Remember that? It's funny how people pick and choose. She was calling herself Indian until they told her they wanted her to be black. Doesn't matter what she calls herself. Shaquille O'Neal calls himself Superman. You going to call him that too? Doesn't matter what she calls herself. Listen, once again, I'm going to say the same thing about you're picking and choosing how to act from a standpoint of hypocrisy. Okay, we're going to call Kamala Harris Jamaican or Indian because, as my viewer says, she calls herself that. Okay, so what about when a transgender person calls themselves a woman? All of a sudden, now you don't give a damn what they call themselves because it's not working to fit your agenda. See the hypocrisy in that? Don't bring up what they call themselves unless you're going to be consistent. You're not consistent, though, because you don't want the transgender people to be able to call themselves anything but what they were biologically born as. But Kamala Harris, being born as an American, well, we'll let her call herself an Indian or Jamaican because that one works in our favor. That's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy at work. Maybe get off your asses and stop doing the bare minimum and expecting the same reward as the rest of us getting paid, says Gen X. Fuck around and find out. Gen X is a friend of the program. Let me make something clear. Because Gen X is talking about the black community. He's saying that maybe if blacks get off their damn asses and stop doing the bare minimum and expecting the same reward as the rest of us getting paid. I never could understand how we could forcibly bring thousands, if not millions of people to this country, force them to do the work of this country, agriculturally, doing housework, breastfeeding people's kids, paying them $0, and somehow calling them lazy while the people who brought them over here are sitting on their asses. Can somebody make that make sense? All of a sudden, they're brought over here to do the hardest jobs for free, while the other guy is sitting on horseback just whipping them into shape. And for some reason, that group of people that are out there in the hot sun doing them, the lazy ones. The dude on the horseback that's sitting, the dude on the horseback, that's the hardworking guy. That never made sense to me. It's just, not to mention the dudes that are out in the field getting their asses whipped, them the violent ones you can't trust around nobody. The guy on the horseback that's whipping them and threatening to shoot him with the rifle, he's the civilized one. I never could understand that. I never could understand it, but that's kind of the way America does it. Will G says, Harris was born and raised in California. Her father was Jamaican. Jamaica was a heavy port for slave trade, so by any measure, she's black and Indian. And that is true. Fact is, the only difference between blacks in this country and blacks in Jamaica is that the ship just stopped at a different, they were bringing it from the same place. The same, well, off the coast of West Africa or whatever the hell it was. The same slave trade that brought slaves here to this continent, we're also taking some of those folks to Jamaica. If you were probably to do a 23andMe or an Ancestry.com, some of us probably have the same DNA traits as some of them folks in Jamaica. They all came from the same spot. The only difference is the language. Yeah, exactly. The languages change over time. Two people who speak the same language, if you take them and separate them by thousands of miles, and they never hang out again, and you come back to their family tree, their descendants 100 years later, they're probably going to have some different dialects. That's just, languages evolve like that. That's just what happens. Your thoughts are not who you are. Sheriff, I agree with that. So why are people saying Kamala Harris is Jamaican? Because she thought she was. It didn't work for Pocahontas, as you call her. She thought she was Indian. You're picking and choosing when a person's thoughts can matter. We like calling Kamala Harris a Jamaican or an Indian. So if she thinks she's a Jamaican or Indian, we'll use that against her. We don't like transgender calling themselves a woman. So we're not going to let them do it. We'll just let Kamala Harris do it because it fits the agenda. You got to be able to see how that works. Sid, Tim, why does even her race matter? She is an American. MAGA is inherently hateful. Damn. Well, her race mattered among Democrats as well. Her race mattered among Hispanics as well. I'm just going to tell you that. Hate is involved in it, no doubt. There's no doubt that hate is involved in it. But that's just the way it is. Just like when a white politician runs, there are going to be some members of the black community, some members of the Hispanic community that are going to have a negative viewpoint of them simply because they're white. There just happens to be far more white people in the country than there are these other groups. So the amount of hatred among the white community is certainly going to be greater because it's just they have the numbers. But there is hatred in the black and brown communities as well. There is hatred in all communities. Our egg prices down 87%. No. And Trump is claiming that egg prices and all this stuff is way down, but listen, I go grocery shopping just like everybody else. I'm not seeing things that are anywhere near as affordable as he is alluding to. I wanted to play another clip before we continue on. And I'll go to the box here momentarily. But I do want you to hear this in addition to the notion that Trump is saying that China is going to eat 147% tariffs. That's borderline insane, but he did say it. I don't know if I can find a damn clip that I had up. There we go. Okay, I want you to hear this because Trump got into an argument over this, and it comes along with a photo. This is in regards to the Albrego Garcia guy, but to some degree, they got into a real good argument over this. But to some degree, I believe it's kind of comical.
It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. That
was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it's Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Okay, now, I want to say something. Now, I've spoke on this before, but now that I get a little bit more information about this, I want to say that they're both right. They are both partially right. Now, obviously, the guy, the reporter, who I don't know his name either, is saying that the MS-13 was superimposed on this man's knuckles. However, Trump is saying that the guy clearly had MS-13 on his hand. They're both right. I'm going to show you on the screen, but this is the picture of what is actually on his hand. Now, I got this information from none other than Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News. Now, I don't trust Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox any further than I can throw her, but because she was on Fox News the evening of January 6th, blaming what happened on January 6th on Antifa, and she's in New York, and what happened on January 6th is in D.C. How the hell would you be on TV that evening talking about this Antifa? So she was just blindly defending Trump. However, this case right here, what she said makes sense, and I'm going to tell you, based on what I've seen, this guy is a member of this at some point at least. He was at least at some point a member of MS-13. That doesn't mean he is now. There is something known as reforming yourself and getting out of a gang. Everybody who gets in a gang is not in a gang for life. But I will tell you this: when you look at his hand, if you can see it on my screen, I think most of my monitors, if they may be in reverse, but you can clearly see the fact that there are letters superimposed on the hand, and that is what the reporter was trying to tell Trump. And Trump is saying he clearly has MS-13 on his hand. He doesn't clearly have MS-13 on his hand, but those symbols do stand for MS-13. The first symbol you see on his index finger is a marijuana leaf. What letter does marijuana start with? The second symbol is a smiley face. What letter does that start with? The third symbol is a plus, as in +1, a cross, as in +1. Now, I forgot the translation for the skull, but it actually does. If I'm correct, I believe they state this does translate. There is a way to translate this to MS-13. Now, I mean, I'm going to say that, and I see in the comments somebody says, you guys are saying I'm reaching. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'd have to see more that is saying that it doesn't, because the explanation makes sense. The explanation does make sense. But fact is, let me just say this. It doesn't fucking matter, in my opinion, whether he's MS-13 or not. Simply being a gang member does not justify all of the things that the Trump administration is talking about that they've done to him. For instance, being in a gang doesn't justify sending you to a maximum security prison paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. The idea that, you know, they sent him to El Salvador and it was that country that put him in prison and the U.S. has nothing to do with it is bullshit. We're funding his incarceration. $20,000 per inmate is what we're paying. So we're funding him being incarcerated. We knew he was going to be incarcerated the moment we put him on the plane. So even if he isn't a member of MS-13, being in a gang in America is not a crime. That alone is not a crime. But also, I got to add the fact that the tattoos on his hand are faded. I mean, he's been in the country since 2011 when he came in at the age of 16. He doesn't have any criminal history of any significance. So he doesn't come across like he's some kind of hardcore banger. I mean, you came in at 16, the most impressionable years of a man's life. That's the time when if you're going to be out here hitting licks and doing drama, that's the time you'd be doing it. You know, the idea that he escaped for 14 plus years and he has no criminal history shows that he wasn't doing much of that, likely in the United States. And the fact that they got to come up with all kinds of accusations as opposed to any charges or convictions, in my opinion, speaks to that. The only thing they have on this guy is he came in the country illegally in 2011, which is a crime. And then they have his wife's accusations of domestic violence, which is a crime, but he hasn't been charged for it, much let alone convicted. So you can't punish somebody based on accusations. And that's what's happening here. I'm going to tell you, with Trump talking about, I think Trump referred to him as beating the hell out of his wife or something like that. Trump supporters know damn well that they would not want Trump held accountable for all the accusations women are making against him. Yet they have no problem accepting the accusations that women are making against their adversaries, like this guy or Bill Clinton or somebody. I mean, people are accusing him of rape. So understand, and by the way, there's a hell of a lot of women that accuse guys of domestic violence all the damn time. You got guys who actually have domestic violence convictions on them that were fabricated by women. Happens every day. Most guys know that shit. If you don't believe it, go talk to somebody like Andrew Tate. He'll tell you. So the idea that a mere accusation is getting all of that credibility from the president, who has a tremendous amount of women accusing him of shit, is insane. It's just hypocrisy to make a point. But like I said, it looks like maybe he may have been a member of that gang, but it doesn't justify sending him to prison with an indefinite sentence. That's my take on it. It just doesn't justify that. In the comments real quick, Will G says, "MAGA ain't shit." Says Donald Jasper Harris was born in Brownstown, St. Anne Parish, Jamaica, the son of Oscar Joseph Harris. These are the parents of Kamala Harris he's talking about, and Beryl Christie Harris, who were Afro Jamaicans. So they call them Afro-Jamaicans just like they call them Afro-Americans, huh? All right, okay, but like I said, Kamala Harris is an American. She's an American by every definition of the word. Tim, it was Photoshop picture. I was the well, no, see it. The MS-13 letters are Photoshopped. There's no denying that. That's where Trump was wrong. The letters MS-13 on his hands are clearly Photoshopped. What they should have done is similar to what I just stated. If you believe that those symbols on his hand represents what people are claiming, then they should just go with that. Hang on a second. I don't know why apparently they don't like what we're talking about here on TikTok, but it should have just had a small paragraph in the corner that says, you know, with those letters, MS, whatever. I guess TikTok doesn't like me saying MS, so I won't say the gang anymore. But by them putting it on his knuckles, and they're just spaced out, like it does look like they were trying to indicate that those were a tattoo on his hand. No, those letters, the MS-13 that's not really on his hand. That was superimposed. That's where the reporter was right. But I do believe the symbols on his hand are what's up for conversation. But the problem is right now with Trump in control of government, I don't know if you can trust law enforcement because they're going to tell you what resonates with Trump. And you may have members of that gang telling you that this symbols don't mean what they're saying it, but you can't really trust them either. So it's like, who do you trust? Who do you trust? And I see in the comments, Travelman said that has also been debunked by the same gang experts. Experts or members? If the experts saying it, then you might be onto something. And that's why by the way, that's why due process is so necessary. Because if they had due process for this guy, all of the stuff we're talking about would have came up. The explanation of the symbols would have came up, and the experts coming forward to actually confirm or debunk it would have also come out at court. It's really disconcerting to hear Trump talk about where there's millions of immigrants here and they cannot all get court cases. There's also 350 million Americans here too. So how many of them can't get court cases? Let's say there's a Black Lives Matter riot or something going on. Oh, there was 5,000 people out there rioting that day. We can't give them all court cases. So all of a sudden now they're all being charged with, level 1 arson or something. I mean, when you start talking about you can't give people that are being charged with stuff due process, that should actually alarm everyone. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It really doesn't, because some of these folks that are showing up to town halls are Republicans as well. And you never know when pissed off Republicans may find themselves on the wrong side of the law, and you don't want somebody using the notion that, well, there's too many of you to give you a fair hearing. That should never be said by any politician in America, particularly a president. That's frightening. And if you're overlooking that, I don't want to hear shit about being a patriot or caring about the damn Constitution. You should never overlook that. National Development Early Life Donald Jasper Harris is Kamala's father. Is he still alive? She didn't talk about that much in the campaign. Also known as Republicans coddling Trump. But don't coddle somebody talking about not giving people due process. And I get it. This person is here illegally and they don't deserve due process. The moment he started talking about sending homegrown people down there, you gotta get off the train with that part. Okay, maybe you like him for the economy, maybe you agree with the tariffs, maybe you agree with how he's handling Putin in Ukraine and all that. But you gotta get up when he starts talking about sending homegrown criminals to a foreign country. You gotta draw the line some fucking where. As I stated before in the program, if you can see the validity in Trump derangement syndrome, understand that there is an exact opposite to Trump derangement syndrome as well. If you have blind hatred for Trump, you can also have blind love for the man as well. If he is clearly talking about doing things that you would have been willing to take up arms if Biden was suggesting it, and now all of a sudden you're not speaking on, then you have the opposite of Trump derangement syndrome. You're just as blinded as the liberals you speak out against. Literally, can you imagine the January 6th protesters getting no due process and being sent to a foreign country? Would you be okay with that? Because that's exactly what Trump is suggesting. You're just expecting it to happen to somebody else. But he's talking about sending convicted American criminals to a foreign prison somewhere else. But you would not have been okay with that happening to anyone that you agree with politically. So why would you favor it happening to someone else? Looking in the comments, spot on commie. I'm being called a communist, I guess, by John DeCampo. Titan, he had due process when 2 judges determined he was in this third. Well, it couldn't be deported to El Salvador because of the rival gang, but he could be deported anywhere else. That is what Democrats are. No, you are correct. He was determined that he could be deported, but just simply not to El Salvador. But the problem is he don't suppose to end up incarcerated. He doesn't suppose to end up in a prison. And I just don't buy into the notion that America, well, we can't do nothing about that because it's happening in that country. If you know you're sending somebody to another country where they're going to be treated wrong or inhumanely, and you do it anyway, you don't get to claim that you're innocent of that. We knew he would be treated inhumanely when he got there. We knew that he was getting off the plane, going straight to that. And not only that, but then you got Trump inviting the guy that's doing these folks inhumanely like that to the White House, and they're on TV being buddy and shit like that. That ain't got nothing to do with due process. In fact, take Kilmore Abrego Garcia out of the picture. Nobody should be done like that. We should not be buddy with any foreign leader that we know is treating people inhumanely. This guy has been here since he was 16. He don't have a criminal record in El Salvador. Why the hell is he going to prison there? Why are we so happy about that? Do you know how many copy paper colored people have skulls, smiley faces, crosses on their bodies, but I'm sure they don't ever suspect them? Well, the thing about it is, I get it. I get what you're saying, and it wouldn't surprise me if what Judge Janine Pirro said about this guy's symbols are wrong. But it made sense at the time, which is why I echoed it here. I guess here's the way I would look at it. Are there other members of this organization that have those same symbols in that order? If those symbols, the M, the smiley face with the S, the plus, if those symbols mean what they're saying they mean, then he should not be the only one with them. I mean, just like some gangs use a 6-point star. Coming from Chicago like I did, some gangs go into the 6-point star, some gangs go into the 5-point star. Some folks have pyramids on their body. I mean, if the symbol represents that gang, he ain't gonna be the only one with it. It's as simple as that. He ain't gonna be the only one with these symbols in that order. So if he is, then okay, then maybe they got it wrong. But if you can show other members with these symbols, then you start looking into it further. I'll leave it at that. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm some sort of gang expert, but the way they orated it didn't sound crazy. Now, Trump defending the actual letters imposed on his hand does sound crazy. And Trump's explanation should have been, no, we're not talking about the letters, we're talking about the symbols. Trump was actually defending the letters on his hand as being accurate or being legitimate. That's obviously not so, which is why the reporter was pushing back so hard. Look it up yourself. You care so much. We will, Creed. Thank you for the recommendation. Do not take our fellow citizen, Mr. Garcia, out of the picture, damn it. Well, I'm going to tell you, the left cares about Abrego Garcia about as much as the right cares about Lincoln Riley. It's not the person, it's what happened to them. Fact is, any of you watching, if somebody wrongfully sent you out of the country with no due process, there'd be a hell of a lot of liberals making videos about you too. It ain't the person, it's what happened. It's the fact that what happened to this person could simply be a precursor to it happening to more people. It ain't that people, just like George Floyd, for instance. It's not that people love George Floyd. The guy had a criminal rap sheet a mile long. It wasn't love for George Floyd. It was a protest against what was done to him. Same thing in this case. It ain't about the guy, it's about what happened to him. Same thing about Lincoln Riley. You think if Lincoln Riley needed to apply for food stamps, the right would have been on her side? No, the right don't care about Lincoln Riley. They care about what happened to her. They're using what happened to her to fit the narrative. So, yeah, it ain't got nothing to do with whether this guy's an upstanding citizen or not. Fact is, he didn't deserve, just like George Floyd clearly was not an upstanding citizen. George Floyd, multiple felon, but he didn't deserve what happened to him. Same would apply to Rodney King, another guy running through the streets on a high-speed police chase. But he didn't deserve what happened to him. So bringing up the actual individual, suggesting that the individual was, a dirtbag or whatever, doesn't matter. They don't deserve what happened to them. And that's where I think the right doesn't quite get it. Do you know how many? I saw that already. I mean, he didn't deserve what happened to him. Is the point I'm making. Tim, I am sorry, bro. Robert tagged me first and started insulting me for my opinions. You know I am a kind person. People like Robert make me angry. What is Robert saying in the comments? I don't see him. What is he saying to bring that out of you? I didn't see it. ICE is not due process. It's law enforcement. Handing down, they're detaining and arresting people, putting people in jail. You can't hold somebody without giving them due process. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. All right, let me go back to the box. And I was D-Blue 752. I tried to bring you up a minute ago. It was frozen there, I guess. But D-Blue, good evening. Welcome back. Also, plant-based defender says the whole tattoo is AI. Let me ask you that, D-Blue. Do you think that this guy was a member of that organization? Try not to say the organization because TikTok don't like it for some damn reason, but the MS organization. Do you think that this guy was just a truly hardworking Maryland father and had, do you believe he was just an upstanding citizen is what I'm saying?
I think it's all speculation, to be honest. I don't think any of us know. But I will say one thing. I have a lot of stupid tattoos that I got when I was young and drunk. And I'm not a part. I got the Star of David on my knuckles, and I'm not in the Jewish gang. So,
that is an excellent point. And I was going to say that because in the tattoos that are on Garcia's hand are clearly faded. And as I stated, he came here in 2011, back when he was 16. Maybe he was running the streets during that time. But a tattoo lasts forever. You could probably find some people who are 70, 80 years old that's got shit on them, Hell's Angels or something that don't mean they're affiliated with them now.
Yeah. There's a lot of assumption, realistically. Yeah. I mean, people are just assuming all kinds of things about him, like he had to have murdered someone or he had to have smuggled drugs across the border. Nobody knows any of this for sure because of some stupid tattoos on his knuckles.
Well, I also got to say, if he was running the streets, involved in drama and committing major felonies and walked away with no criminal history, that is impressive.
That's right.
Yeah, that's impressive.
You'd have to know some guys.
Yeah, I mean, the best you can come up with is his girlfriend accused him of assault. And even she didn't charge him. Like, there's nothing here.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious they might as well just come out and say we don't care. We're sending him off.
Yeah,
staying there.
I think that's the best answer I would give as well. Is that just like I'm saying, it's not really about him. It's about what happened to him. The right is kind of the same way. We don't care. We don't care if he's a criminal or not. He's one of them. He's here illegally. get rid of them.
Yeah.
How does, but because the right often are far more associated with the Constitution, patriotism, Christianity. How did they get to this where they don't care about what happens to a human being?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but religion does have a lot to do with it.
Explain. I mean, what do you mean?
We've seen all kinds of cultures be manipulated by religion into doing horrible things. I mean, just look at 1930s Germany.
Were they doing that? Were they using religion as part of that?
Oh yeah, that's what it all stemmed from. It stemmed from the same things that we're going through. It was religion, immigration, and jobs. Those were the things that people were complaining about at the time. That's what Hitler pushed towards the people.
I didn't know religion played. I mean, I know for sure it was jobs, and they were blaming them for destroying the economy. I don't know if they were suggesting that the Jewish people were grapists and unalivers like we're doing with these folks, but I think, most of the rest of that you're saying, I have heard that as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't understand how we're still at a point in 2025 where we care about the color of someone's skin, or we care about where that person has come from. I understand the tax situation. I understand people want them to be a part of our tax code. But if that's your concern, then I think you said earlier, just make it easier for these people to seek actual citizenship here.
I think
it's doing all this gruesome stuff.
I think when you start talking about the color of skin, I think it's a replacement theory. A lot of folks do believe that, the fact is the white community, because that's where it's coming from, but the white community does not, have offspring as much. And that's kind of true. The white community tends to, you want to get your financial affairs in order. You want to go to school and get an education and then get a decent job. And then that's when you start having a family. Whereas in the black and brown community, if I get pregnant at 17, it is what it is. So you have more offspring coming from that side. And I think that they don't like the fact that 60% majority is starting to shrink. And this is somewhat in action to try to offset that. Not to mention Trump offering to give people $5,000 for having kids. I think he's trying to offset it.
Did you actually see, I believe it was in Arkansas, I could be wrong, one of these bumfuck southern states, they're actually wanting to outlaw biracial marriage.
I knew that was going to happen. That should come to the surprise of no one. The idea that, we're going back. It doesn't, just like I believe a federal abortion ban will likely pop up, but trying to outlaw biracial marriages, or biracial unions. Is there anybody surprised at this point?
Yeah.
Where is that? Where did you hear that coming from, though?
I saw a news article about it earlier. If I come across it again, I'll make sure to send it to you.
I would like to hear if there's a politician or somebody proposing it. I would love to hear more of that, but it won't. Because listen, they've been denying the whole Project 2025 thing, and Trump said he don't know anything about it. Fair enough, but if you actually look at it, it's almost like taking the windows of a high rise and you're noticing some of the lights and some of the floors are coming on. Like somebody is in this building. So some of the different tenants of that is coming to life. So somebody is, it's starting to happen whether you want to admit it or not.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's page by page. They're moving fast on it. That is one thing that you can. You got to hand it to Trump. He's moving fast. He's definitely moving fast. I just definitely don't think it's in the right direction. Of course.
Well, the man says he has a mandate. Maybe the country wants. They want this. I don't know.
If we're being honest, less than 30% of the country wants this. The vast majority of people.
Well, if it's less than 30% of the country, but the remaining 70% do little to nothing to stop it, then the 30% are going to get their way.
Fair point.
Yeah. I mean, what percentage of the voting electorate chose not to vote at all? So, I mean, they essentially helped him out. Obviously, we know Congress is not going to get in the way of anything. So 30%, but if the remaining, the Democrats are speaking out, but they're powerless at this point. And like I said, the powers that be among the Republican Party are basically like, whatever Trump wants, we're okay with it.
Yeah. Hey, you asked me last time who I thought would be a good candidate to bring Democrats out of this. I guess we'll just say funk for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Jon Stewart?
I like Jon Stewart. I mean, he's a committed leftist, but he actually is really good at talking to the people. I used to watch him even back when he was debating Bill O'Reilly, when O'Reilly was on Fox News. I like Jon Stewart, but you know something? I think, and he's a straight white male, and I think we need that. Now, Jon Stewart is Jewish, and that's the reason why I think Kamala Harris did not go with the governor of Pennsylvania, whatever that guy's name is. Being Jewish comes with its problems as well. I mean, we are a country that sees color and race and nationality as clear as day. So being Jewish, I personally think you need to be a straight white Christian male. That's what the Democrats need to put forward. Jewish, maybe, but it's going to come up. But I like Stewart. I like him a lot.
The one thing about him is he is Jewish, but he also doesn't push it on anyone. He doesn't flaunt it around.
I don't think Kamala Harris was really pushing her Jamaican. They're going to dig it up. I don't think Obama was going around pushing Kenyan hair. I mean, once you run, they're gonna dig it up.
Yeah, but I mean, if people could get over that, which obviously it doesn't seem like it, definitely a lot of racial issues going on.
Yeah, even a highly respected Nikki Haley suddenly became Nimrata. I mean, they're gonna dig it up, no matter if you push it or not.
My thing is that I think he'd be a good candidate because he's funny. People want comedy these days. They obviously don't like the serious talk.
But his liberal principles are very well stated too, though. He's funny and comical, but you know where he stands.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing when Trump came in. You knew exactly where he stood. And it was his popularity and sort of comedic aspect to him, I think, that drew the attention, obviously.
I think Jon Stewart would do better than any liberal that we know right now on the national stage. From the Fettermans to the Whitmer in Michigan to Newsom in California, I think Stewart would beat all of them because and not only that, but he has, even though he's an older guy, the Comedy Central crowd is a bunch of young folks, and that's what the Democrats need, is to energize the young vote. And yeah, I think he would do better than any Democrat right now that we can think of.
Yeah, he's able to talk to the other side. I think that's also super important.
Yeah.
He cuts through a lot of the hypocrisy of both sides. Even though he does lean a bit more liberal, he still calls out their hypocrisies as well. So
you know who else does that is getting a lot of attention? Who's another comedian? Bill Maher of HBO.
Bill Maher. Yeah. I don't think he'd be a great. I don't know if he'd be a good president.
He smokes a lot of weed. Though.
He's a good enough guy, but I don't know if he has the demeanor for it.
Yeah, I like Stewart though, but as somebody in the comments says he's 100% liberal. Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, trying to get somebody in the center, I don't know. I mean, Fetterman.
I think he is more central. I would say.
Really?
I mean, he does.
He's progressive, in my opinion.
I think you see it that way right now, just because there's so much more material to make fun of when it comes to Donald Trump. Everything else kind of gets lost in the garbage, you know.
Yeah, I think Bill Maher is more somebody who's center left, but I see Jon Stewart as closer to being a progressive. I mean, I see him as being not quite AOC Bernie Sanders, but he's closer in that area than he is like Fetterman or center left guys that can kind of relate a little bit to the right. I think that's what Gavin Newsom is trying to be what you're suggesting. Somebody that is left but can relate to the right. All of a sudden he's popping up on right-wing podcasts and taking in. I mean, he's trying to relate.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with Gavin Newsom. He's an all right enough guy.
Yeah, but they're gonna shove California. Yeah, but they're gonna ram California up his ass. California politics, the economy, the taxes. I don't know if he can beat that.
Yeah, I just think unfortunately we're at a point in time where people don't want career politicians anymore whatsoever. They want the people that are the most famous and the most glamorous and the loudest, and the people that are
Trump could live to be older than Betty White, and those same folks talking about they don't want career politicians would keep voting for dude. So they telling you that, but that ain't what they really mean. If Trump lived to be 100 and could keep running, MAGA would keep voting for him, all while saying we need to get rid of career politicians.
Oh yeah.
So don't take that with a grain of salt. That ain't it sounds good when you're saying it about somebody you don't like, but I don't see the right voting against Mitch McConnell had to decide himself. I'm tired of glitching, so I'll step down. They were voting for that guy over and over and over again. So all of this, we need to get rid of career politicians. You keep voting for Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not really a Bible-fearing man necessarily. I don't, I'm not super into any religion, but if there was an Antichrist, I mean, look at what he's created, a cult on the most extreme level possible.
You talking about Trump?
Yes.
Damn, you put him in the category of an Antichrist? Wow.
I mean, like I said, I'm not super into that stuff. I don't necessarily, but if you had to give someone that title, I think
he has a lot.
Look at how many people he's influenced across the world, not just America. Not influenced in a good way necessarily, good or bad, doesn't matter. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone has something to say about him.
Yeah, he probably is the most recognizable, well-known person on the planet. So I don't disagree with you.
When it comes to his supporters, I mean, I think you asked me last time, and I was kind of coy about it. You asked me if they would ever do anything as bad as what they did in Nazi Germany. I think they absolutely would. I think they would do anything that comes out of his or his administration's playbook. I think it literally is a cult. I mean, if you look up the definition of a cult, you can't tell me that's not what it is.
Jeez. So you see
word for word, line for line. They're using religion to manipulate people's feelings. I mean, just all of it.
Wow. That's frightening because there's a lot of MAGA maniacs out there. Not to sound like Hulk Hogan, but what are you going to do when my MAGA maniacs get a hold on you? I mean, there's a lot of MAGA maniacs out there. So if you're suggesting that they would be willing to be as committed as the Third Reich, that's frightening. I got to move it on, but damn, that's depressing, man. Thank you for coming through. That's scary shit. That's scary shit. You too. All right, moving on. Moving on with the program. I think Trump, with our starting, we are starting to realize or wake up from their trend. What do you say? You think Trump support? Your wording, our archangel. Your wording. I think Trump, with are starting to realize or wake up from their. I guess it sounds like you're saying that you believe Trump supporters were in some kind of a trance. And trans, not trans. You spelled it trans like transgender, but they were in a trance, just so focused on him. And you believe they're starting to wake up from that. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard a lot of diehard, devoted MAGA suggesting that they're rethinking their vote. I haven't heard it yet. Now, as Denkow much earlier in the show pointed out, it might be due to the fact that storage shelves are not empty near them, or they believe that all they got to do is wait it out and their 401ks and their retirement plans will come back. I think it has to be where the pain is palpable, where you start to feel like maybe he is sugarcoating the pain I'm going through and downplaying it. And I don't think MAGA is there yet. I think MAGA tends to think that it is the liberals that are overinflating the pain we're going through and exaggerating what America is about to go through. So until they get to the point where they feel like maybe Trump is not being honest and he's sugarcoating a pile of shit, they're not going to be there yet. And I think that that's what's up right now. So many are suggesting, I think around July 4th, that's when we, celebrate Independence Day and you want to go out and buy shit. A lot of folks are suggesting at that point, the empty shelves and the punishment from tariffs will be in full swing. So we'll see, but some folks are suggesting that it'll be around that point, around Independence Day, when people will really start to wake up and realize this is for real. But right now, you can still go to the grocery store, despite what the liberals are saying. You can still go to the grocery store and buy groceries. You can purchase fuel or eggs for a decent price. There's not a lot of suffering. You're hearing about it, but people still have not gotten to the point of widespread suffering. So until they get there, which is what Denkow was saying, and I kind of agree with him, until they get there, it's going to be that the liberals are fear-mongering. So we'll see what happens when they get there, though. Congratulations, Tim, from Basic Tim to Professor Dr. Tim. Wow. Keep preaching that education. We all need it. Need to be ready for what's in store for us. Evil, super amazing boo. I appreciate the compliment, but look, this is kind of a round table, so to speak. No one sits at the head of this table. Sure, you're watching me host the show, but I respect every viewpoint coming from all sides of the aisle here. I never want to project myself as a know-it-all, which is why I always say free speech reigns supreme on this show. We go left of Bernie Sanders to having dinner with Q. You know how we talk about. You can be critical of anybody in the program, including yours truly, because I don't think anybody's opinion is more valuable than someone else's. So we do let everyone speak, but I appreciate the accolade there. I'm giving it to you the way I see it. And many of you folks, I invite you to give it to me the way you see it, such as my comment on Garcia's knuckles. Now you got me going back to the dugout and rethinking my strategy. Tim, please remove Robert. What is Robert doing or saying? I don't even see him. I'm curious. I'm like, damn, what is he doing or saying? It's that bad. I have to see it. I'm real hesitant to remove anybody, but what is he saying is that bad? Biden was that center-left guy. Yeah, he was. Yeah, Biden was the one that was brought in after the chaos of Trump's first term that was supposed to unite us back together and be center. He was that guy. But MAGA's not leaving Trump. I'm just going to make that clear. You're not going to unite the country as long as Trump is around and he has a stronghold on MAGA. It doesn't matter who, they're not leaving Trump. So I don't know if it's possible. And I think that may be something that Biden did not realize. They're not going to leave him. So I don't think any president is going to unify the country while Trump is actively in the game, because his people are not going. His people are coming with him. I am out, Tim. Enjoy. Who the hell is Robert? Your community is not safe and you not hate against others. Maybe I need to pay more attention to what's going on here, because someone is suggesting that there's a hateful individual in the comments. I have not seen that, Sid. But now that you're making a point of it, I'm curious to see what. Hey, Mike, we have. I don't see. I had to see it. Get rid of Tony. Get rid of Sid. He's a total. Yeah, I'd have to see it. Anyway, nevertheless, it is about that time anyway. While they start cutting Social Security and all these programs for seniors, that would do something. That would, because there was a guy who showed up to one of the town halls and he stated, "I am pissed," and it was an elderly guy. That would definitely do it. If you start getting a bunch of seniors and veterans that are really angry and pissed off, that could. The problem is the love for Trump is not going anywhere among the right. So what probably has to happen is you got to convince some of the Congress and senators that they're going to lose their job whether they defend Trump or not. If you keep defending Trump's policies, because that's why they are constantly supporting Trump's policies, is because they're afraid of Trump having them primaried and kicked out. So they need to be convinced that if you keep following this guy, you're going to lose your damn job anyway. That's where it needs to come from. People need to get more outspoken with their local politicians, talking about their local because the Congress and in the Senate, they want to be still there long after Trump is gone. Trump's only going to do a handful of more years. Let's say, he does his 3 years. God forbid he does another 4 years. Them folks want to be there beyond that. The Republican Party wants that party to be strong beyond that. You don't want to love one guy to the point where he destroys the whole party indefinitely. And I'll tell you something, and this is where MAGA may not agree with me, but the way Trump is treating immigrants is probably going to hurt the Republican Party with Hispanics long after he's gone. Long after he's gone, because he's way beyond grapists and unalivers at this point. You went to the wrong protest. You got the wrong tattoos. I mean, that no one expected him to go that far off the deep end with that. None of the Hispanic community that voted him in expected him to go after people with student visas and all of that shit. He's went way further in terms of deporting people to the point where now it looks like you just want to get rid of everything brown. So my guess is, unless some changes of significance, he's probably hurt himself with whole sects of the Hispanic community. Whole sects of it. SCCTS. Whole sects of it. Like, whether it's the Mexicans, whether it's the Venezuelans. I mean, we know Venezuelans are being shipped to that prison in El Salvador. And Venezuelans were part of the group that used to vote for Trump. So my guess is, like I said, he's probably hurt the Republican Party with Hispanics for, just like Lyndon Johnson, when he gave black civil rights, stated that I'm going to have them voting for me. I'm going to have Negroes or the N-word voting for me for the next 100 years. Trump could have the Hispanics voting against Republicans like that because the treatment has been so draconian. Probably not. Most Hispanics are escaping their fucked up countries. Yeah, but if you're coming to America and simply going to the wrong protest could get you sent to prison indefinitely, or having the wrong tattoo could result in America sending you to a prison indefinitely, and the leader of America is making references and jokes about sending citizens to that same country, you're not just leaving a fucked up country, you may be arriving at one. Trump is now starting to echo some of the things that they feared in their homeland. That's why I'm talking about he may be ruining his chances with Hispanics for years to come. He's starting to do some of the same things that they ran from. So, and I see in the comments, they are illegally, my man. Well, what is that, AJ or whatever? They're not all illegally at this point, though. When you start taking people who have student visas and you're kicking them out, you're kicking people out on university campuses because you don't like the protest that they were involved in. No, those people are not here illegally. You're changing the rules so that they're now violating new rules you put in place. They're not all here illegally. Remember the Haitian migrants, the ones that were allegedly eating cats and dogs? They're not here illegally. Trump wanted to get rid of them. The people he's getting rid of are not all here illegally. They're not all here illegally. So, in fact, if you came during the Biden administration and you put in an asylum case, you're legal. That was legal during the Biden administration. Trump just came in and changed it and made it illegal. So suddenly you went from an asylum seeker with an active case that was pending under Biden. You're here legally with an active asylum case that's pending. Trump becomes president, and now suddenly you're a fugitive from justice. That's kind of what they came from in their own homeland. So, like I said, it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference. They were all here temporary. Yeah, exactly. And under the Biden administration, they had a chance to stay. Under the Trump administration, they went from temporary to no way, gotta go. All of them. All of them. Big difference. We can't blame Lyndon B. Johnson. That time in history was reality. Bro, listen, at the end of the day, if I'm in a foxhole and the enemy sneaks up on me and I hear a gunshot go off and I look up and it's you taking out an enemy that was about to hit me from behind, you my friend for life. I owe you. Even if you didn't want to do it, I owe you. You saved my life. Lyndon B. Johnson is that guy. I mean, I don't care. You know, people bring, well, he called you the N-word. Who gives a damn? He gave you civil rights. He's the guy in the foxhole that saved your life. So that could happen with President Trump. If you get a liberal in there that all of a sudden demands that Bukele release those folks, starts giving class action lawsuit allowances to folks who were wrongfully deported or people who had their houses busted and property seized, the liberals are going to look real good to Hispanics. Trump has treated immigrants, illegal and legal, so badly, it ain't hard to come through and look like a hero at this point. I mean, it ain't just the stuff he's done to them, it's stuff he's said about them. I got a clip I just played not long ago where he said thousands of folks coming here were murderers. There's no evidence of that. There's no actual evidence that thousands of those illegal immigrants came here are murderers. It's pretty easy to come through and say, listen, to the Hispanic community, solemnly swear I'm going to do right by you guys. As Commander-in-Chief, I understand the last guy before me, my predecessor, said a bunch of awful things about you. My job is to simply make it right. That's all you got to do at this point. That's all you got to do. My job is to make it right. I'm not saying that if you're here illegally, you get to stay, but being here illegally does not justify somebody calling you a murderer or a sexual assault predator. My job is to make it right. That's all you got to do. He said a lot of horrible things about people that are not true. So we'll see. But I'm telling you, I do believe that it's possible that Trump could have hurt the Republican Party with Hispanics for a very, very long time. Nevertheless, folks, I do appreciate the 50,000. I didn't ask you guys to tap the screen as much. I didn't ask them, but I do appreciate those who did tap the screen. Do got to step away. You know, I have a day job just like everybody else. Bryce Ferg, thank you for the galaxy. Thank you very much, Bryce. But as always, if you enjoy this type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle, you don't have to agree with shit I say. Damn it, I don't have to agree with whatever you say. But if you come up, give you plenty of time to express your opinion without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored. That's how free speech works here. If you enjoy that type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle, follow the damn program if you're on TikTok or if you're on Instagram. All of the platforms, the same name, Handsome Liberal. And drop your boy a subscription if you're on YouTube. Until then, you guys have a good night. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I got to go. I don't want to make sure I didn't miss anything there. There we go. Y'all take